Hey everybody. Wow, I was actually like all set up early, and then I'm like, all right, let me go ahead and get my calibration stuff out, and then next thing I know, it's 3 minutes late. So apologies for that. Um, so you can kind of tell already from the size, but the Sony X95K is on the right, and the LG G2 83-inch is on the wall on the left. We're gonna have some guests here shortly. And so far, all I've done is just unbox and set up the X95K, um, and then just kind of just had it playing while I was setting things up here. So haven't really given it a good look yet. FOMO should be joining us soon as well. And he has the 65-inch version of the X95K. And apologies if I sound off. I am have another sinus infection. That makes, 6 this year so far. Yay for my luck. So we'll get a few more people in here, and we'll try looking at a few scenes, try to get some initial impressions going. All right, is there any questions so far? A95K out next week. Yeah, so I do have a 55-inch A95K on the way. I went 55 because I literally don't have room for another TV, but I wanted one. So I figured the 55, get that one, use it for a while, and then depending on how things go, how good it is, I may keep it, I may resell it. I'm not sure yet, but if I keep it, I don't know, put it in the bedroom or something. All right. Thank you. Luke, how are you doing? Oh my God. So yeah, the unboxing of the X95K is absolutely ridiculous. Let me download some pictures from it. With the box, the 75-inch is like 145 pounds. There is so much cardboard to this box and inside the box. It was absolutely unnecessary. But then again, the TV at 75 inches with the stand with the feet is like just shy of 100 pounds. So it's basically a 100-pound 75-inch TV. It's crazy. It is definitely one of the, especially being sick, it was not a fun unboxing, I can tell you that. I got a couple pictures that can show some reflections too from when I was unboxing it. So let me grab those pictures. All right, download. I definitely recommend having some help if you unbox this. Okay, let me share these pictures while we wait for others to join. So I will do a unboxing and setup video as well, but here's just a few from it. So you can see all this cardboard all around it. It has not one, but two full slabs of cardboard protecting the screen. So it's nice that it's well protected. And then you got these pieces of cardboard so the box doesn't squish in at all. And this was the only TV box I've seen where there's actually punch out handles on the front and back of the box as well. So that's all the cardboard laid out. And then there's all these plastic panels to cover up wires. And then because there's different placements for the feet, you can cover up those slots. And here's the other cardboard in front. And then so here's the G2 window reflection. And then here's what the reflection's like on this, how it shoots stuff across the screen. I'm not a fan of that. This is why I say even bright LCDs, I don't like them for bright room. because of that right there. In a dark scene, that looks awful. All right, let me change image here. Where was that? So I don't want to rush impressions, but to be honest, anything dark scene related, the contrast is just not there on it for me. I literally only had a few minutes of looking at it, but in those few minutes, it doesn't have the contrast that like the QN90B has. Obviously, it's not going to match an OLED, but the QN90B was much closer to OLED than this is. And then as far as like brightness, we're gonna have to go through content and see if other content shows really what it does. But so far, the positive that I've seen is very bright, high APL with like a sunset or whatever. That was really bright. But the contrast is just really lacking. So yes, this is in custom, pretty much out of the box. Let's see. The only thing that I changed, I think, was just motions. Or no, I turned the reality creation to auto because I like it on auto. Default, it was manual, so I changed that, and then it defaults the Cinemotion on high, and I put it to low. That's all I've changed. And I can show you everything down here is all default. Also, when I very first opened it, the menus and the setup was terrible looking. You know how really cheap LCDs have like that blotchiness all over of like bright blotchy spots around the edges and the top and the bottom. It looked like that. And then like if loading up Netflix, that N for Netflix had tons of blooming and it was like reddish orange blooming. However, there was an out of the box update. Doing that out of the box update, the only thing that it said that it did was improve TV performance. And I can say it did help. So other people who don't do updates, that may be why their blooming was so terrible. That said, it's still not at the like QN90B level from what I'm seeing so far. But we'll play around with some things, look at some different content. But so far, it's looking how I predicted, which I predicted them to take the X95J and focus again up high with making it bright and not put much emphasis in dark areas. And so far, that's what I'm seeing. Like even if I put local dimming to high, which generally helps dark areas, like it's not making any noticeable change. And even if you go to low, like, and then obviously off, it makes it worse. But now, even the blacks so far, like, let me show another scene where shadow areas are just not looking so hot. What was that? Might have been on the previous episode. Here we go. Let me pause here. All right, let me check the exposure on the camera. There, so I'm trying to make the shadow areas a little more visible. But do you see how on the G2 under the trees looks much more contrasty than the X95K, where some of those shadow areas they don't look that deep. Like there's just a flatness to it. Mrs. Classy actually walked out, looked at it, and said, "Oh, it looks like my KS8000, which is a bright, low contrast LCD." I mean, this is better than that for sure, but it gives that impression when sitting next to an OLED. So, I mean, there's settings in here that you can use that will make it less accurate and crush out detail and do things like that, which will artificially darken those shadow areas and stuff. But leaving it in its accurate state, um, it's struggling, at least compared, like I said, the QN90B was much closer to OLED in dark areas than what I'm seeing right now. And it also got really bright. But we're still going to go through more content. This is just one scene, so we're not going to draw too many conclusions from just an initial quick look. I am hearing the 77-inch A80K has the semi-matte coating that the 55 and 65 had last year. If that's the case, I would continue to say grab the A80J77 while you can before they're gone, especially at that price difference. Let me go back an episode. I didn't mean to go back that far. Come on. Nope. Oh, gosh. I think my shield has been getting slower lately. Okay, so here's a good spot. So let me turn the camera up a little bit more, but you can kind of see like on the ears how they're really dark and inky on the G2, but there's just like a glow, like it's just definitely lifted blacks, and it just doesn't look contrasty. The mini LED, the X95K is on the right at 75 inches. The LG G2 is on the left, 83. Is it better than the X95J? Probably mostly overall. The X95J had far less zones. So basically the zones were always on. But I feel like its black floor when the zones were on was maybe deeper. Like when there's blooming and a highlight in a zone that's or next to a zone and it causes that blooming on this, it seems to make it more visible because it's brighter. But it's going to be dependent on the scene. How you doing, Famo?
Hey, man. Doing good. I see you have the, oh, man, 75-inch. How many pounds was that?
With the box, 140. So there's 40
Oh,
pounds of packaging, and then the TV is 100.
this is why I don't review large TVs. I don't want to end up in the hospital.
Mm-hmm. I moved it a little bit on that table, and there's like imprints in that table from the feet.
Oh, yeah, that feels pretty sturdy, but it's kind of low. I I wish they had that position, but raise the TV a little bit so that I can move cables underneath it. Yeah, we're reviewers, right? But I can see why they did that. Yeah, I am so glad I have a 65-inch. And is that next to the 83-inch?
Yeah.
Very nice. How you like it? I just caught a tail end of what you're doing. Did you get a chance to play with the settings? Like, what's your favorite settings right now?
Oh, I just been setting up for the stream while it was playing some content on custom, and so it's basically in its out of the box most accurate state, and like that,
Not vivid mode.
Yeah, I can definitely say though it's not like the QN90B has more contrast and better near black, for sure.
Yeah. I'm noticing. I have the Q90A, and I know the Q90A is excellent for blooming control, which is what I will test it. And unlike the Q90B, the Q90A does not do as well in specular highlights, though. So I think Sony definitely addressed that. But I can't believe how far behind they are in local dimming control.
Yeah. Change scene. I gotta adjust the camera. So we were talking briefly about the 77 A80K and its screen coating. So SD is a normal viewer of ours. He saw it at Value Electronics and said that it had the semi-matte screen of last year's 55 and 65 A80J. So it's a very slight semi-matte, but I haven't seen it personally. It's just one report so far saying that it is. So they're saying that Brian said it's glossy, but I think you would have to have them like next to each other to really tell. I don't know. So we'll find out. Are these calibrated? No. So the A95K just opened up. I'm gonna run some measurements later. The G2 just has white point adjustment. So like you see the shadow in the water, like areas like that, there's just the
you talk about the contrast.
Yeah, that's my biggest struggle so far. Scene to scene, the contrast difference is just very large compared to the G2. And
Now-
when I had the QN90B next to an OLED, it wasn't that large of a difference.
Now, to be fair, though, you are comparing it to an OLED so that people know.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, I'm just saying the QN90B next to an OLED, it wasn't that stark or drastic of a difference.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
David, thank you for Super Chat. Dear FOMO and Classy, this year's A80K versus last year's A90J. What are your thoughts? I mean, I would go for the A90J. If you're talking 55-65, which is the only sizes where they're the same, or you have both models, then I would definitely take an A90J over the A80K.
I would too. I mean, isn't the A80K just using the A90J's panel now? I mean, for sure, they have it at all sizes, but without the heatsink. So the A90J, I think, would be a great, and it's the same processor too. It's not like the LG where you're going from C1 to C2. You are getting a whole brand new processor, whereas Sony's carrying over the XR processor. So, and it's not like you're getting any additional gaming features going to the A80K from the A90J, because both XR processors will receive the new PS5 contrast special sauce by the end of the year, I hope. So, yeah, I definitely get the A90J over the A80K. Now, there's argument that the A80K may have the new EX panel. Do you know if they have it? They should have it, right? Because is that going to make a big difference? Do you think in picture quality?
Well, I mean, the EX panel is even in the A90J and last year models, after a certain point. So, yeah. So I would say the panels are pretty much the same. Just the A90J, you get that heatsink. So, Trevor, thank you for Super Chat. 48C1 or 50-inch QN90A in a semi-bright room. I would go for the C1. The only time I've seen an OLED struggle in a bright room is if it's a severely bright room.
And Trevor, also think about your content. If your content is not asking for 2,000 nits and it's just streaming on Netflix, neither TV is going to hit its maximum brightness. They're both, the source determines how bright your TV needs to be. So if you do a lot of SDR, the only time I think the C1 and all OLEDs is a challenge is you're watching hockey, it's super bright, you don't care about color accuracy, you just need to get bright and you want to see the score and you want to see that puck. Yes, the QN90A all day long, or the basketball court, right? Basketball, the court can get very bright and you want it bright, then the QN90A. But short of those use cases, if it's just quality movies or streaming, they're both going to be bright enough.
All right, and then watch this. So I'm going to go through the settings on the Sony again. So it's in custom HDR. So this is pretty much the accurate out of the box setting. So it's on gradation preferred. The local dimming is on medium, although going to high and stuff doesn't really do much. And peak luminance is high. right? So this is like, if I go to brightness preferred, it does brighten up, but then it's a little bit. But I'm just saying, like, as far as an LCD, like this goes, mini LED, it should be really, really bright, and the G2 is kind of matching it. And if I put the G2 into Cinema Home with dynamic tone mapping, then it's brighter. And I put this in the brightness, it's really not any brighter than the G2.
So Classy, let me ask you. So you have it on max brightness, right?
Yep.
And peak luminance is on max. Everything is maxed out.
Yep.
What do you think? How about why don't you bump up contrast enhancer to low or medium and see what it does to the color? How offensive is it?
It just is like changing the APL without.
It just raises the midtones basically, so it doesn't follow the EOTF anymore, basically.
Yeah, and the green loses the little bit of punch that it does have. So it's just I'm not seeing the advantages yet. Because like I said, if both of these are in their accurate settings, the G2 is basically as bright, but with a lot more contrast. And then if I put them into the LG and Cinema Home, and the X95K on brightness preferred, again, they're pretty much, it's the same situation. The APL just went up for both. They're about the same.
Okay, so you know what? So this goes to a myth that, and I'm a victim of this myth as well, where we always say LCD TVs get brighter, blah, blah, blah. So in its most accurate mode, it cannot get brighter. Mm-hmm. But if both the G2 and the X95K is in their dynamic vivid mode, maybe that's the only time that LCD mini LEDs can get brighter. But short of watching it in dynamic vivid mode, if you're in movie mode, and as my example, I have the Q90A right here as I'm breaking in the X95K. The Q90A is actually dimmer. I'm like, wait a minute. So the Q90B, I think, fixes some of that dimming. Not dimming, it's just a dimmer APL in these HDR scenes, slightly dimmer. That was my complaint about the Q90A. So these are LCD TVs. These are flagship 4K LCD TVs. And now the G2, we can say, and I have it against the A90J. In some scenes, the A90J slightly, maybe the APL is a drop lower, but overall, it can get brighter than either TVs in some scenes. So I think OLEDs are there, short of the Z9K. So if you guys are talking Z9K, Z9J, I surrender, right? The 2,000 nits on a 1% window last year is insanity. And assuming the Z9K does at least that this year, but we're talking Q900B, Z9K, right? A completely different animal that costs twice as much. I think in the 4K arena, your G2s and S95Bs and A90Js are bright enough. Even the C2 could be bright enough.
Do you notice in the sky how little blue there is on the X95K? Like, it doesn't matter which way I have it. Either way, the G2 is holding a lot more blue color in the sky. The clouds are more defined. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like the difference of looking at an 8-bit camera versus a 10-bit camera, like shooting an 8-bit or 10-bit on the camera. Like,
that's crazy, man.
The dynamic range is just lower.
Yeah, that's nuts. But Sony has had an issue with its color gamut and dynamic range on all of its TVs the last few years. Have you noticed that? Now I'm going off of the measurements on ratings. Sony's gamut measurements has not been great. And I don't know what it is. And I think we're still trying to figure this out. Like, what? It's not like it's pushing something else better, because, for example, if there's a trade-off where you reduce this, you get something else. Like Samsung, they reduce some of that clarity and sharpness in return for their extra wide angle viewing angle. Okay. Or you lose a little bit of saturation for a little bit of extra viewing angle. Sony's viewing angle isn't great. It isn't better than anything else, but then you're losing color gamut, and I don't understand what the issue is.
Yeah, so I did both, and both there's just a lack of blue in the sky. Yeah, to me, like the like I've always said, backlight master drive, master series, like it's all just marketing. I want to see what it does in content, and I'm not seeing any. That's why, like, even with Samsung, when they give out these marketing terms and whatever, and the same with LG and their marketing terms, to me, I don't care what the terms are. I want to see the difference in the content, and the QN90B was a very noticeable step up over the QN90A, and it was quite close to OLED while getting brighter. This X95K so far, not impressive, but we're gonna keep changing. Let me change to a different show, and then we'll move over to Spears of Munzel, and then count some dimming zones and stuff. So let's try. You said The Witcher. Let's try this. All right, I gotta cover the camera for a second so I can get to a spot and then pause it. I try to wait for that stuff in the corner to go away. There. Yeah, I wish the camera could really show how flat it looks on the X95K, her face. I don't know if that's going to come across well on the camera, especially on a stream.
I see that the TV has a touch more yellow green. I guess it's pushing green on the right.
Let me change this exposure. The bottom right black bar is not black at all.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah, because you have ambient light in your room, so it's hard to see that. Yeah.
Does that help? Yeah, I'll put that into a video and show the black bars, but they're not black.
Hey, Classy, this is a good question, and I have the same question. Hamza was asking, I don't know if you remember, D Nice mentioned that the A90J, some models have blended steps, and he doesn't like that, and some don't. What the heck is that? Like, is that a chip issue? Is like a different chip? Can you explain the blended step, why that's a hard limit on some A90Js and not others?
So have you ever seen where, like in a dark scene, a face could look really weird, like it's glowing on the cheeks and the side, and like there's like banding like in the face kind of, and different luminance levels. Mm-hmm. That's what that's referring to. So as Dina said, other people refer to it as something else. So, if he wants to point out who that is and what that is, he can. But that's the issue he's talking about, and it's a panel lottery issue because some have it, some don't. I would say most don't. I have gotten a couple emails here and there sending pictures of that, saying, "Hey, what is this or whatever." But all the Sonys I've had and used and calibrated have not had that issue.
Oh, so here's a good question for us S95B fans. They're asking, okay, so Vincent is saying maybe Filmmaker Mode will be updated on the S95B. What exactly is this update he's talking about? Because we feel that it's not a big deal, but what is it, and how is it supposed to help?
It was a response from whatever PR team, I guess, at Samsung that was a little cryptic. So I don't know specifically if they're saying they're going to make Filmmaker more accurate with the EOTF, or if they're going to fix the 10% measuring being flat to EOTF when it's not normally. So I don't know if it's a measurement fix or if they're making the TV more accurate.
And when we say accurate, we're talking about luminance accuracy.
Yes,
it's not going to make. Yeah, it's the color, as D Nice said, it's an untamed animal, meaning you don't know what you're going to get. You might get a fairly accurate TV or a completely inaccurate TV. That's not what they're fixing. They're just going to follow the EOTF curve in a more consistent fashion, not just certain windows, and then other windows it's off, right? So yeah. Which, again, really only helps calibrators. For the average Joe, you're not going to notice that difference, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, normally on the Sonys, if I put local dimming to high, it helps black bars and subtitles and stuff, but I'm just seeing nothing happen.
Hey, try gamma to -2. I know your room is a little bright for that, but I found it to help the black bar a touch.
This is an HDR. In HDR, you shouldn't touch the gamma.
I know, but who
Because
knows
that's
what these
lowering the
control
EOTF.
right?
That's basically what that is.
Because nothing else worked, right? I played with the black levels. Nope. They have all these settings. I push it to high, to low. Literally doesn't affect the blacks at all. So I don't even know what that toggle does. I think it's just sitting there.
Jeez, and that now, if I put dynamic tone mapping on here and put that to brightness, this is a lot brighter, and especially the snow in the background. So I don't know. Austin, thank you for the super chat. Do I plan to do X95K versus QN90B? No, because I'm not going to be able to have both at the same time. I just don't have room. That said, it's really looking like the QN90B is the winner of the two. FOMO, you're going to be getting the 95B, correct?
No, I'm getting the 900B, the 8K.
The 900B. Okay.
Yeah. I understand you guys are having great success with the 90B, so I want to raise it a level and say, okay, what if they had all that amazing processing plus more dimming zones? What could we do at 65 inches? That's why.
Chad, yeah, I have another sinus infection, so apologies for how I sound. But I'm off work and have plenty of time tonight to stream, so figured I would go ahead and get this started with the X95K. Yeah. I'm sure if I throw on like some YouTube demos or something else that's really bright, you're going to see some difference, and we'll get there. But I just wanted to start with some regular everyday content and just get an impression. So we'll keep exploring. So this one is the 75-inch, which should be very similar to the 85, whereas the 65 probably doesn't have the the extra wide filter or whatever that they usually do on the larger sizes. Yeah, I mean, in a vacuum by itself, I'm sure the X95K looks fine. So again, we're comparing it to like a top of the line flagship OLED. All right, I'm gonna let this play for a few seconds. The motion's better. Like, I'd say the motion looks nice on it. Like, because I use this scene, because there's a lot of the bricks and different detail on this castle as the camera's panning can stutter a lot on the OLEDs. So, yeah, the shadows are definitely much more lifted on the X95K.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Is that Elden Ring? What are you doing on that?
No, this is The Witcher.
Oh, The Witcher. I was like, wow, who's trying to Elden Ring? Yeah, I love the shadow detail and the black. Just The Witcher is so good for just testing lumen and stuff.
We're still looking, and this is very little content so far. Very initial impressions. That's the thing with the live streams. Like, this is a learning process, so Don't want to take conclusions from the beginning of it. But I will just also say that the initial impressions so far are lacking. So we will see if there's content that it shines with. forget if I have Spears and Munzel in the Blu-ray player right now or not. Let's try it. So do you have anything that you're ready to share from your experience with the 65 so far?
Oh, where to start? Well, okay, so definitely. So tomorrow, as you saw, we're going to have our blooming test just to see what it's really like. Now, against the QN90A, right? Against the QN90A, it is definitely better in the specular highlights. So I'll give Sony that. It is very close to the A90J in the scenes where the QN90A could not match OLED. The Sony did it. So I see what Sony's doing is it wants the specular highlights to hit the same level as OLED, right? But the compromise here is that what's up with the black bars? The black bars, you could do both, Sony, right? You can get specular highlights and just get the black bars done. I mean, so I hope they could fix that in a firmware update. Just throw out an algorithm. If you detect a black bar, just turn everything off. I mean, come on, just turn everything off between the black or outside of the black bars, right? Samsung does that very well. And they don't turn it off. I mean, there is a touch of blooming on the Samsung, but it's not as obvious as the Sony and the black bars. Now, outside of the black bars is complicated. In some scenes, not great, and that includes Netflix and Blu-ray discs. In other scenes, it's phenomenal. And I see that Samsung does over dim in order to fight the blooming. They take blooming so seriously that in some scenes it's almost SDR, but there's no blooming, right? So you have to ask yourself, well, this is the Q90A. They're heavily discounted. If you hate blooming, get the Q90A because it's on a heavy discount. However, if you want the best of both worlds where you have less blooming and more specular highlights, the QN90B appears to have done that. So if you watch ratings review of the Q90A or the Q90B, they said that the blooming control is maybe not as good as last year, but the specular highlights is where we wanted the improvements. So, you know, it's kind of like moving the deck chairs around the Titanic on the LCD TVs. We're at its limit. There's only so much you could do. You already know the compromise. And I think Samsung plays with those little compromises so much better than anybody else out there. For $2,800, the X95K needs to be more discounted because it doesn't win enough to justify a premium, such a high premium at this point. So, I mean, we'll continue to test and stuff, right? And this has nothing to do with calibrations either. I am just testing luminance, specular highlights, and black levels, and that stuff. So,
yeah, see, I gotta completely disagree with ratings, blooming control or local dimming results, because if you are using like a torture pattern, then you see more blooming on the B than the A, but that's because it's like if you're counting zones or using the spinning circle thing or whatever, the zones transition faster. So there's 10% less zones. So the zones are slightly larger on the B than the A, but they transition faster. So in real content, the local dimming is far superior on the B to the A.
And that's a great point. Ratings has to update their test to account for these improvements. So in this case, it's not so much that Samsung gamed the system per se, but rather they don't have a test to accurately assess this improvement. And this is why watching real content is so time consuming. Unless you live and breathe with these TVs and watching all of them at the same time so you can see the differences, it may take weeks before you discover, I see it. In these scenes, there is a pattern happening. Yeah, TV reviews are difficult because of that. You run these synthetic patterns and you're going to miss stuff, and they're going to game like the EOTF curve issue where in certain windows it looks perfect and other windows it doesn't. That's Samsung playing the synthetic measurement game and winning.
All right, yeah, so right here, this is definitely X95K, definitely brighter. Like this high APL scene, this is just 1000 nit grade. It's brighter, for sure. Like the white on the snow on the mountain, definitely a lot brighter. But then the shadows in the trees are also lifted. So, yeah, this is what I was seeing with the QN90B in these bright scenes. Like, it was definitely much brighter than the OLED, but it was able to keep the dark scenes closer. And that's where like the QN90A had very dim, small highlights, but the 90B had highlights that were brighter than OLED in those small
What's
areas.
the HDR grade on this again?
This is just 1,000 so far.
1,000.
Yep.
You know what's interesting is when I pushed it to 4,000, the A90J had better tone mapping. I saw the straws, whereas on the A95K, it blew out the little grass on the bottom. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, come on, it's the same XR processor. What's up with this tone mapping inconsistency? So tell me if you see a similar difference with the G2 at 4,000. Exactly that scene too.
Yeah. So it's still in gradation preferred, and if you go to brightness preferred on a scene like this, it's just losing detail and not really getting any brighter. Like this is just maxing out the full screen brightness of the display. But that's the advantage right there. That's what they're focused on, is these very bright high APL scenes. But then you come to this one, and to me, the G2 just has a more three-dimensional looking image.
So I don't know if you've been reading these European reviews of the A95K where they're running the measurements now, and 940 940 nits on a 10% window and 210 full field. Basically, at best, it maybe matches the S95B, but it doesn't beat it. And
that's what I expected.
Right. So basically, and this is what you were saying is, it's to extend the life of the panel, but it's not going to outperform the S95B, especially when your full field is identical. Now, it may hold the full field longer than the S95B, right? And maybe ABL is less aggressive, and that's probably where you're going to get it. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what ratings say.
All right, so like we said earlier, the update that Samsung's going to bring has to do with EOTF, and I think it's mostly just the measurements for EOTF. I don't think they're changing. I think they're just changing the 10% window size, measuring differently than the other sizes. But even if they do fix EOTF, that's not going to do anything for the colors.
Nope. It's going to be pushing red out of the box. Pushing red and orange out of the box, and that's very visible. Because I knew it was going to get calibrated, and when it did, it was spot on. But yeah, those getting the S95B, set aside a few $100s for calibration. It makes a difference. Or unless you get it from Robert, then he'll apply the discount to the calibration for you guys, so it'll be included. But it's very important that, and this is why I want to see the A95K out of the box before I get it calibrated. How does it compare to the S95B out of the box? And I'm hoping it does better than the S95B.
Interesting on this one, the sun, they're very similar. Like the X95K is a bit brighter on the sun, but you almost can't tell because the contrast of the scene is so bad that it doesn't stick out. Like the whole left side is just so lifted. Like if I turn that up so you can see like the mountainside, the left side of the image, like it's lowering the like perceived contrast, making the sun, even though it's brighter, it doesn't like appear to stand out as much. There we go. Hey KG.
Hey, what's up? How's it going, guys?
All right, how are you doing?
Good, good.
Oh, I see some more. Hang on.
You're pretty clear on the stream.
The GT
Hey,
I'm seeing some more.
Hey, what's up? How's it going, FOMO?
I was just hanging out. I'm breaking in my X95K as I'm watching Classy share his disappointment.
Oh yeah.
And just to let you know, I spoke to Brian at length about what he saw on the 85-inch, and he has both the 65 and 85 electronics. They're both on display, and he noted that the 85-inch blooming is definitely not as evident as the 65-inch. He said that off angle, the 65-inch has more blooming than 85-inch, same scene off angle. So if you guys are looking at the 85-inch X95K, all LCD TVs have some blooming, but the X95K at the larger size, definitely less from what Brian is seeing.
Okay. So yeah, that's pretty historic on how when TV sizes go up with LCDs, that's typically how it goes. More zones, right? Like so.
Yes, more zones per square inch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key, right? More zones, because as you get larger, you're supposed to get more zones, but definitely more zones per square inch is so important.
Right.
All right. Well, here's a star field.
Oh, torture test.
Yeah, these never do good on any LCD. It feels like.
I mean, the Sony is probably going to measure pretty accurately.
I don't even see the stars.
Yeah, where are the stars on the Sony?
Okay, I was just making sure this is not like an exposure.
I mean, they're there, but they're so dark you can't see them.
Because it's moving too.
Yeah, I can't.
You know what? That's. Let me throw on my stars and see.
See,
because I have Q90B or Q90A. I want to see if at least the Q90A will put up stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the Sony is going to measure fine. The problem is the number one most important part of picture quality is contrast, and that's where it's lacking. I have the camera set to +1 full stop of exposure too. I'll go up to 2.
Hold on, let me pull up chat so I can chat with you guys in the chat.
And let me try playing with the Sony a little bit, because yeah, those highlights are so dark. Those little stars.
Yeah, the Sony definitely has more stars than the Q90A. Q90B is a different story, but definitely the Sony is doing better than the Q90A on stars, but of course not as good as the OLED.
Oh, if I put local dimming to high, it just crushes them out more. See that?
That means it's really aggressive with its local dimming.
So it's interesting. PA is saying that a bunch of users are saying they received a bent panel, which of course sometimes damaged the pixels. Then my question is the bent panel, you guys thinking it's out of the factory or it's just not properly boxed like the X95K?
Talking about the S95B?
We're talking about the S95B. Yeah.
Okay.
PA is saying that the owners' forums are saying the QC is atrocious.
Yeah.
They don't even get to it.
Yeah. I've seen people like mistaken. I almost did this too. I've seen people mistaken like the bent panel for the slight like tilt that it has, because it's slightly tilted. I had to ask Classy about this. I was like, it's tilted back, right? Because if you like align it with another TV, it almost looks like the panel is bent back at the top. But that's not the case for that. But I have seen some examples where they're kind of curved or convexed. Like at the top, if you take a picture from the top of your S95B, that's probably the best way you can tell if it's bent. And then Classy, you had yours like bent on the side, right?
Yeah, it was like both corners were warped. All right. I want to make some real changes to the camera so you can see this. Hang on. So move that to that. And then...
Yeah, my S95B seems pretty clean as far as no bend. We'll see. I get the 65 tomorrow, so fingers crossed on that one.
There we go. All right. So do you see that top square in the upper left?
Hold up. Let me pull that up.
So in FOMO, you see that square in the upper left corner of the screen? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah.
Yes, I see it.
Yeah, so you can't really see it on the G2 because it's so dark, but that's supposed to be 0.05 nits, and you see how bright that is on the X95K? That is
Which pattern is that on the Spears of Muscle? Let me
the dynamic range low. Let me see if I can get it there. Now you can see it on the G2.
Oh, that coating is like rainbow, huh?
Yeah, I showed the pictures of the reflection earlier. It's not good.
So be careful with the bright room if you have direct light shooting at it.
And there's no direct light shooting at it. It's just the camera is so overexposed right now.
Oh, okay.
There's just barely any light actually hitting it. So that's just like the reflection of my, you can see me right here in the G2.
Yeah.
So that's the C1 monitor reflection. But when I turn the camera back down, you don't see that anymore.
The
but you can see
scattering
that
light, is that your window or is that the actual TV? Like your TV reflecting onto your other TV?
No, that's just the white. Like if I turn, I have my ISO at 40,000. That's why you're seeing it. Like go back to normal. It's actually probably from the bias lighting.
Oh, okay.
Which I can turn that off. Nope, that wasn't it.
Looks like it's your window or something.
There's no window.
Oh, I don't know. Something's reflecting onto.
Yeah, it's just got to be the C1 reflection in the monitor.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, let me turn this way back up so you can see the difference in the brightness of that square up there.
Yeah. Interesting. This is 75, right?
75-inch, yeah.
So I didn't catch your impressions so far. What are your impressions so far on it?
It can get bright, but there's a big lack of contrast.
Okay. So in comparison, like what you saw with the QN90B, how is it?
The QN90B was more OLED-like than this for sure.
Okay.
What's another good one? That one. Yeah. So the camera, this is going to make the camera suffer, but basically it's a grid of dots.
Yeah.
And those dots are significantly dimmer on the X95K.
I see that. Like, I mean, like I can barely see dots.
Yeah, and that's where like the QN90B, again, it can't match the OLED. in near black,
Mm-hmm.
but it could push those dots as brighter.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed with the QN90B is that those little small specular highlights, they got really bright in comparison to how they were on the QN90A, where you just didn't get that same effect. That's why I tell everybody like the QN90B is so much improved in that area.
The camera probably can't see that. Obviously, the white squares are definitely much brighter. But around the edges of the black rectangles, there is some slight glowing lifting.
I think my X95K is broken.
What?
So the A90J on top and the Q90A on the bottom right are both brighter running this pattern, and I can't get the X95K to even match it. I don't know what's happening.
What do you have the contrast enhancer and stuff on?
No, it's here. Let me run through it real quick. I don't have anything on other than it's in custom. Brightness is max. Black level 48. Oh yeah, I play with that to help with the black. That actually helped with the black bar. If I put it at 48, so I put it back up to 50. Black adjust is off. Everything is off.
Oh, your local dimming on high. That's why it crushes out when that's on high. If you put it to
Oh,
medium,
is that why?
Mm-hmm.
So what should it be on?
it should be on medium for detail. You see that?
Okay.
It does help the blooming a bit when it's on high, but you lose a lot when you do that.
Oh, well now the blooming's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want the detail for the accuracy on the detail side,
And that
slightly better blooming control?
yeah. And to be fair, the Samsung has the same problem too. I mean, it's LCD, guys. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, classy. It sounds like what the X95K is doing is a lot what the QN90A was doing last year. The way that it's like crushing the highlights down and crushing out the details when it's on high.
All right, I'm gonna try and count zones from like 8 feet away. So talk while I do this.
Yeah, Fomo, you got to see the QN90B.
I know. Well, okay,
it's
so
so
I
impressive.
I'll be getting it probably near the end of summer because that's one that Samsung's going to send me at the end of the summer.
Okay.
They just have to get, because I told them I need to hold on to it longer.
Mm-hmm.
So their first wave of reviewers have to give it back in 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, I cannot do it in 2 weeks. Okay, then you'll be in the third wave where you get to hold on to it a bit longer. So I said, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when all the Black Friday sales are anyway, around September. So I'm hoping that at that point, then they could decide Q90B or, who knows what the price is at that point. But yeah, I'm very excited that the specular highlights are much improved because on this, the X95K does beat it in specular highlights, like we talked about with some of those scenes. You give up the deep blacks, but in full screen, it has better specular highlights. And the Q90A just doesn't get bright enough in those scenes, which is kind of weird, right? Because they work so hard. Now, many people are saying, well, why don't you just put local dimming on standard? Then colors are off, all the midtones are raised. I mean, you get specular highlights, but everything's destroyed.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen.
If you put it on standard, what happens is it gives you more tone mapping. Like that's what's going on. And when you have it on high, it disables some of the tone mapping. Good.
Yeah. I couldn't do it.
I think it disables most of the tone mapping on high, right? Like in yeah. Okay. So that's like one of the things I noticed from the QN90A last year. If you put it on high, like if you have a scene with a bunch of stars in the sky or just something with small details, you'll notice some stuff is disappearing on high. On the QN90B, it's not like that at all. And like I was just kind of amazed, and that's why I said I haven't seen a TV that made such a big jump from year to year, like with the model, in a while. So it was very impressive.
And with less dimming zones, that is definitely impressive. That means I mean, as people have said, it's processing too. So they got both the processing and the large dimming zone count. So
it looks like it's either 30 or 29 across, and then 20 down.
That's all right.
It's about 600, give or take.
Okay.
And that's on the 75.
And
interesting.
65 is supposed to be like what, 300 something on the 65, supposedly.
I don't know.
See, I have it, but I'm too lazy to count. I'll let ratings count it. I'm not gonna sit there counting zones, man. If I get it wrong, they'll just yell at me.
Yeah, I thought it would be more than that. Honestly, that seems kind of low for mini LED.
All right, you see
KG
the
coming
blooming right
from
there?
90.
Yeah, right.
What was it last year? Like X95G had 90. So going from 90 or even less than 90, this is huge.
It was
True.
60 on 65-inch.
Oh,
And
so
I think
going from
80,
60.
I think it was like 80 or so on the 75.
Yeah, that's just
Dang.
crazy. Come on. But it is better though. The Midnight Mass of last year on the X95J was horrible. This one, it's noticeably better, but not as good as a QN90A.
Yeah.
That's too much. Trying to get the camera to make it look how I see it.
There's a lot of confusion on the QN95B. We really, like, it's hard to even know what it is for us. Like, you're right, FOMO, in the UK and stuff. Like, QN95B is essentially just a QN90B, really. Like, but here we're supposed
also,
to get like a different
I forgot.
processor. I don't know if they have that, but
Did they unleash the 144 hertz on the Q95B as well?
yeah, that's gonna be a thing.
That's the right for gamers, right? If
Yeah.
that's important to them. Yeah.
Yeah, so right around there is where there's definitely a big separation in the brightness between the patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just got my G2. I can't wait to play with it. And then tomorrow I get the S95B 65. So should be a fun weekend.
What are you doing this weekend?
I don't know. I'm gonna do some sort of live stream with the G2 and the S95Bs. I might do a S95B versus S95B.
Get to them.
You know, just to see how like different it is out of the box from model to model.
Bent versus unbent. Is it same size?
Oh, don't say that. Please don't say that. my 55 is not bent, so I hope my 65 is clean.
Oh, I see. You're going large. Got it.
Yeah.
Wait, are you upgrading 65 and returning to 55, or are you going to keep both?
So like if my brother wants to buy the 55, I'm just gonna let him make payments on it and just let him get the 55 after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Lay away with KG.
Right.
We need to start that service.
So like what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give him a little bit of a discount if he lets me keep the TV for like 2 or 3 months, so that I can do a 55 versus 55 with the A95K. So we'll see if he agrees to that. But that's the plan, hopefully. If you're listening, call me. I don't know if he watches other people's streams. I know he sometimes tunes into mine.
So, yeah, so the camera is picking up the areas where the blooming is, but it's not nearly that bright of blooming. And then as soon as I drop the camera one more third of a stop, then all that goes away.
Yeah, I don't know what collab they're talking about, but that's not happening.
Well, sometimes it's a forced collab, right?
Yeah.
You've been hijacked into a channel.
Yeah,
I mean,
right out of the box, there was an update, and that update did help the local dimming.
Hey, KG, what's your cliff notes on your massive wall of text? Mozart wants to know.
Oh, I mean, there's no cliff notes. You're just gonna have to read it, honestly.
Put him through the pain.
Yeah. If you're dedicated enough to watch and read that, then respect. I even wrote like halfway through that text. Like, I know a lot of you guys aren't gonna read this. It's just one of those things where you just have a lot of thoughts and you just put it and I thought the community would want to hear my side. It's kind of like my journal in a way, but public. Yeah.
I got you.
All right, so here's 4,000 nits. Let me see how it tone maps.
Looks brighter.
Yeah, brightness preferred just definitely lets it clip out a lot of detail. Doesn't tone map as well.
Classy, how is the like fine details and stuff?
Hard to say because of the lack of contrast. Just kind of makes some of those details not stick out.
Oh,
Right.
I shared my SPD that Sammy measured. Some people are asking because they don't know what SPD is. So, oh, where'd it go?
Oh, I just added it, but it's not there.
Okay, wait, it's popping up. There it is. Okay, so that's my, and so as you can see in an OLED, all those are bunched together, and in QD OLED they're separated. This gives you the color rendition, because it's separated like this, it just appears to pop more, right? You can get more accurate. It also depends on the content, but that's the weakness of WOLED. They're all kind of crunched together. And quantum dot color converting layer separates it and raises its energy levels. So all the QD OLEDs will look like this.
So
Also,
this
I think
is the S95?
RGB direct view OLED looks very similar. What was that?
This is the S95?
This is my S95. Yep, this is
Okay,
what
yeah.
Sammy measured.
Yeah, they cut back on the blue light too, so like it should be better like to watch before you go to bed. Essentially.
Yep. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, so this is like I said, 4,000 nits. The LG I think just gets confused because like with tone mapping, it's not really like changing in brightness. It's just making the detail much more visible. So it's kind of weird how it works like that. So yeah, I think X95K just like really bright, really bright
Ooh.
scenes.
Wow. It's like everything.
No detail right there though.
Yeah.
No. Is it because of the exposure I'm not seeing detail?
No, it's not.
Okay.
This is
Let
4,000
me see.
nits?
Yeah, let me see if brightness preferred changes
That
that.
makes sense.
But it might make it worse.
That makes sense.
Oh, it makes it worse. There's nothing now. It's just all white. It's horses in a sea of white right there. And then go back to gradation. You get some detail, but it's not doing 4,000 nits good at all.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to run off. I forgot supposed to pick up dinner, but it was nice hanging out. And tomorrow we'll have a live stream as well, doing the comparisons and all that blooming talk. But have fun, everyone, and see you guys later.
Cool. Later,
All
FOMO.
right, you too. Thanks for coming by. See ya. Yeah, so tone mapping off, obviously going to be terrible. Gradation preferred, you get some detail. And then brightness preferred, it's just like, it's almost like it is when it's off. So it's not doing 4,000 nits high bright scene very well.
Right. And to be fair, not many TVs really do.
No, but it should have an option. Like gradation preferred definitely should be lowering the brightness to preserve more detail.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat. So guesstimating, when do you think the 83G2 will use the newer panel? If and when they do, will it be more worthwhile over the C2? Must be an 83. The 83-inch panel is it's like it came out after the other sizes last year. So it is WBE. It is considered a new panel still.
Mhm.
It just doesn't have all of the enhancements that may be with the smaller sizes. And after calibration, it's like a 7% difference only in small window brightness, which that's not a 7% difference in visual brightness. That's like 1 or 2%. So
Yeah.
it's really nothing to be concerned about. And the 83C2 is being software restricted. So there is a difference, it turns out, between them. Now, if they wouldn't have software restricted the C2, they'd be very similar. If you hear that, that's my chair. Sorry. I'm going to have to get a new chair soon.
No, that I think I know what he's talking about. There was something that like sounded like just a robot or something.
Oh, is it still there?
Making like noises. I don't know if it was on your side or FOMO's side.
Oh, okay, maybe FOMO's.
Yeah. It sounded like a robot was beatboxing. It was like, like I don't even know how to describe it.
See, like this right here is really similar between them. Here you got brighter sky, brighter clouds.
I mean, the G2 seems to be doing a really good job with this.
Sorry, what?
The G2 seems to be doing a good job, like at least showing it.
Yeah, and I was doing, actual content on Netflix earlier, and there was like no brightness difference, or in some cases the G2 was actually brighter. So this is like it is a torture test disc for sure, and then how it relates to real content,
yeah,
kind of depends.
Right.
So let me get to a couple spots on this disc, and then I can either move on to taking measurements or put in more content. So we'll see what chat wants to see first.
Can't you run a poll?
I don't know how. Yeah, you're asking me things I haven't tried yet. Where is that?
I mean, I think you could run a poll. I saw somebody run a poll.
It's probably the higher tier.
Yeah, maybe.
StreamYard.
No, not through StreamYard, just through like the chat window on YouTube. See if there's an option for that.
Oh, I haven't even opened that. Maybe I should do that. So pop out chat. Oh man, I didn't do a lot of things that I should have done for this. Darn it.
It would look like bars, I think.
Yeah, I see it now. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah, I should utilize that more too. I don't know why I don't. There's a lot of things we should utilize more. Like we should probably pin like our affiliate links for the chat, and we should probably pin like other useful information. We're still learning.
Just so everyone knows, I don't got to go to work or anything. I'm off right now because I'm sick. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought completely. So there's no time restriction basically. I'm not going to go incredibly long, but I got time to show some things and do measurements and stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I'll stick around for a little bit. I gotta unbox the G2 and stuff. I put together a rolling TV stand yesterday. Way easier than I thought. That surprised me.
Yeah, unboxing this TV was not fun. Wait, why is there a yes and no option? What the heck?
Yeah, I don't know. Ignore the yes.
Ignore the yes and no. Yeah, that shouldn't have been there. I don't.
Stop voting yes. Wait, I voted for real content and it shows 0%. What is this? Okay, there it goes.
And then for me, the poll just got really small and I can't even see it.
Oh, you can just click it again. It'll
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
27 votes. Come on, guys, vote.
Yeah, you guys go ahead and vote for me. I gotta get a different drink. My throat's drying out. I'll let this play.
Yeah, I like watching it in real time. Switch. It's kind of cool. Like, who will win? Measurements or real content? Measurements or real content? Vote now. What, you like that? I'll play some music while you guys wait through StreamYard.
You did the music, huh?
It was just like, while you were away, I wasn't like gonna just sit in silence. No copyright. This is actually through StreamYard. This is StreamYard's music. They got some terrible music, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, that lizard is sticking out a lot more on the G2.
Yeah. Looks like real content's winning.
Yep. All right. Again, I'll do measurements too, but I'll go through a few more bits of real content and then we'll do measurements at the end.
Yeah.
All right. Super chat. Thank you, George. Why the G2 over the QN90B? QN is so much cheaper. They're just two different types of TVs. So the QN90B gets really bright and pretty close to OLED in dark scenes. G2 in a lot of content will keep up pretty well with brightness while having better dark scenes. But high APL stuff is where the QN90B will get brighter. So it's just whichever you prefer. But the G2 offers a lot of calibration stuff, stability, quality of life stuff that like ties in on the QN90B is just not good. Things like that.
Yeah, it's a preference thing and an environment thing, of course, too. More so than anything.
Yeah, and for me, gaming on the QN90B was nowhere close.
Really?
Yeah, I just remember the color gamut just looks so.
I cranked that up to 37 and it worked. So I will have a video talking about that.
I missed a super chat from right here. Anthony, thank you for super chat. What am I getting an upgrade for a 65 S95B versus a C2? Very disappointed in Sony the past couple of years. Yeah, aside from the cost difference, if you're looking for a stable platform that's a lot less buggy, that's the advantage of the C2, but the HDR impact and performance of the S95B is a lot better than the C2.
Yeah, I mean, You're getting pretty much a more powerful TV in the S95B, what it's capable of. Uh, if you just like really bright highlights and just things to pop off the TV, that's the S95B. Like, it doesn't hold back, and it may be like pushing highlights full power all the time, is from what I'm experiencing. I don't know if you noticed that, Classy. Like, it just feels like everything is just full strength at you.
Well, see, that's the thing with the S95B is if something in HDR is not supposed to be,
Yeah.
really bright,
Mm-hmm.
the S95B is constantly pushing its full brightness on it.
Yeah.
So in daytime scenes, that could look really good. In nighttime scenes, it may not. It depends on your preference. And so UROC is basically looking at the same kind of option here. It's a lot of the time the HDR is going to look a lot more impressive and a lot better on the S95B, especially for the average person. But you're giving up accuracy and calibration controls and stuff. So it just depends on the type of person you are, and what you're watching and playing. If you want your games to be extra bright and extra saturated, then the S95B does all of that. And then if you want really bright SDR gaming, or you want to use black frame insertion without it getting, dimmer, then that's what the S95B is good for.
Yeah.
But if you want to be able to switch your inputs without it forgetting what a device is where and whatever, then that's what the C2 is good for.
Yeah. Even if we take all of the user stuff out of it, it's really going to be coming down to one thing. Like, what do you prefer at the end of the day? I think that purists, like people that are image purists, that care about accuracy, it's going to be a hard time for them to like this TV based on what I'm saying that it's doing, based on what everybody has said that it's doing. Because, like I said, I don't think it's supposed to push a lot of these highlights the way it does, but it does. And some people will love that. But the people that are really caring about accuracy and the image purists, they're not going to like that as much. So you got to ask yourself, what do you care about? I mean, and if you're a gamer, whew, it's not close.
Well, see, that's where I'd say it depends, again, on what you want, because in those dark atmospheric areas in games, they're not that dark. They're lifted too much on the S95B. So that's where it's like, if you want the accurate look, then the LG's good. Oh my god, why is this camera doing that? Hang on. Well, the X95K, for whatever reason, the shutter speed is just
weird.
Yeah, like I've had the same shutter setting for every other TV without a problem. Come on.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem with the dark atmospheric games, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's when you run it through the splitter, you'll see it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I have gone really... What is going on with this? Come on. There. Are we almost there? Nope. Too far? Right there?
You're good.
Yeah. 95.5 shutter speed. That's an odd one.
That's
hit
weird,
the focus a little bit.
That might cause some issues too. I don't know.
No, I'll be all right. And then George,
you're mostly gonna show stills anyway, so.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. G2 or A90J at 83 inches. G2 costs more. If you're gaming, for sure the G2, and if you're not, there it's kind of depends, because I would give the motion advantage the A90J. Most content's going to look very similar. But if you're not worried about accuracy and you want to push the G2 brighter, you can.
Yeah, it sounds like the G2 is brighter than the A90J.
High Def News, thank you for the super chat. How does the X95K compare to the J? So far, what I'm seeing is it's very similar, just that they changed the blooming because the J had a lot less zones. But when the zones were on, the black floor was maybe, I mean, it was certainly lifted compared to, like, say, Samsung's black level. But I think the black floor on this might be a little bit deeper. But when there is blooming in those zones, it's so much brighter blooming that it's more distracting, at least to me. But it's not, the whole screen or whatever. So it's very similar, just that they are pushing it brighter, basically, is the easy way to put it. So, and when you push brighter on an LCD, you have more problems near black.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like what we've heard when they did that event. The one I was telling you about when we showed some pictures from it. That was like very similar to what they said, so that doesn't surprise me at all. They also said the X90K was just like a little step up, a small step up from the X90J. So I haven't heard too many impressions on the X90K yet. Have you? I know, like, I saw a video from Brian and stuff, but that was just an unboxing. I didn't actually watch anything beyond that yet.
Yeah.
But I don't think, like, I doubt it's just like the X95J of last year.
Let me turn this up. And are you gonna? Nope, I'm gonna have to change the ISO so you can see it. Hold on. So, like, you see that area in the back, just how bright that shadow area is between the two characters.
Yeah, is that
like right
pillar or something?
Yeah, like there's
that
part, and then this is like really, really dark. But it's not crushed.
No, okay.
It's just the X95K is showing more shadow detail than you should see.
Oh, okay. But it's hard to know that, right? Like, without a reference monitor, how much detail it's supposed to be showing. So the G2 could be crushed in that sense, right?
No, because you can tell by the EOTF tracking and the measurements.
Ah, okay.
Oops, bumped the wrong. There we go. What was it? 95.5? I'm trying to get to one scene. Can we go back faster? Yeah. All right.
It looks like there's a lot of red in the skin tones on the G2.
The X95K just has a lack of color contrast.
Okay, yeah, it's got like a little yellowish look to the faces there. I don't know, maybe that's the camera doing that, but
There you go. Yeah, so this, that sky brighter, shadows lifted a little bit, and then I'll get rid of that pole. Did I miss any more questions?
There's birds in this scene, right? You said? Oh,
Yep.
yeah, I see it. Barely see it, but I see it. Did you miss any questions? No. Maybe. This isn't the X95J 2200 at 75-inch from Best Buy. Might be the way to go if considering Sony LED.
I liked the X95J, but I only reviewed the 65. And what I liked about it was compared to the QN90A, it was, it was basically like the QN90A without as good near black, but the QN90A had the problem of crushing too much and deleting detail near black. QN90B fixed all that. So it's like at this point, I mostly lean towards QN90B as like the main LCD option.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, so for the 75-inch X95J, the biggest problem is a lot of people were seeing the grid effect on it.
Yeah. Do you see any grid on yours?
I haven't seen anything like it yet, but I also haven't looked at it for terribly long yet either.
Yeah. If they're talking about grid, it might be the grid DSE, where the DSE almost looks like it is grid shaped. I see that sometimes on pictures of like Q90T and stuff like that. That was a big problem there. And then of course the X95J last year.
Let me turn that light on. So the G2 is on the wall, and it's pushed more against the wall here. It's pulled out on that side, and then the X95K is kind of at an angle just to be able to get it all to fit. Because I mean, even that's a 14 millimeter full frame setup, and like that's literally just at the borders of it. So it's just the way that it's all angled. All right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's an 83 versus a 75. That's hard to put in camera.
Oh, I just realized that this is playing in Dolby Vision. So now we're comparing Dolby Bright with Dolby Cinema. Okay.
Yeah. Not used to that because you're used to the Samsung.
Yeah, I'm used to my other, the Sony Blu-ray player where I had it turned off.
Yeah.
So Dolby Bright is not the typically accurate Dolby Vision mode. So let's see what it has going on here. All right, yeah. So let's go to Dolby Dark, which is the comparative version to Cinema on the LG.
Yeah, like Sony, I have to watch on Dolby Vision Bright sometimes. Otherwise, it's like unwatchable. But I actually turned off Dolby Vision now, so.
Well, it depends on the Sony model too, because for a long time Dark wasn't good, and then last year, even then, like a lot of the times, because of the way Sony handles Dolby Vision, Dark is too dark. So
yeah, I was just speaking on the A80J, really.
Yeah, so most of the time, people are just going to run Bright, and then if you do gradation preferred on Dolby Bright, it does kind of make it a little bit better, a little more closer to accurate while not being too dark.
Yeah.
All right, so now that these are in comparable settings, it's pretty close. I mean, there's a lack of some color saturation on the X95K or something to that effect, but without measuring it and knowing what's going on,
it
could just be the way Sony handles Dolby Vision.
Is the G2 pushing that highlight more in the water, or is that just the camera?
No, the water is a bit brighter on the G2.
Okay.
And now if I do put this back to bright, and then I put this to Cinema Home, it's like that.
It's got brighter on the G2.
But yeah, those black bars are not good.
Stop! I can't believe that, man. Like, that's my biggest pet peeve with LCD TVs. Like, you gotta have the black bars down, otherwise, like, I can't do it. I like versatility with the LCDs. Like, I like to be able to watch it in the bright room in the daytime, and then like when it's nighttime, you can get it all good and dark.
Yeah, the this overall scene though is just lacking so much three-dimensionality and contrast right now on the X95K. Like it's very bland looking, and Let me see if I can show you the black bars.
That's disappointing, man.
Like you see the black bar down to the right corner, and then you can probably see it a little bit up top too, like in the middle.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, do you think the XR processor just doesn't work with the LCDs as good or something? Like, because you said reality
I think
creation
they
didn't
just really
seem like
focus
it was...
on the reality. Like it's not as sharp. The motion is actually good. Last year,
Yeah.
the motion on the LCDs I wasn't too fond of, so the motion got better at least it seems.
That's good.
But everything's on min. I didn't put it smoothness to 1. I bet you if I do, I'll see soap opera effect.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel right now. And the color difference, the QN90B has much better
Yeah.
color gamut volume. Sony's, for whatever reason, dropping their gamut a lot, but we'll measure that as well. I don't know if I'll do the color volume measurement today because that's a lot of patches, but we'll at least do color gamut.
Yeah.
Now, let me put these back to the more accurate mode, which at least gives some of the contrast back.
Have you played with gaming at all or no?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Not even off camera?
No, I basically got on camera as soon as I had it set up.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, time
But
to YouTube.
I think we already know what's going to happen when it comes to gaming. It's not going to be pretty if VRR is on.
Yeah. Now, like, do you know it makes sense to do these streams because, like, why not just broadcast what we're doing anyway? Like, we're doing this anyway off stream, so let's just, like, give it to everybody to view. Why not? And that's kind of where I'm at now with this. I know some people don't like streams, and I get that. Seeing streams pop up in your notifications sometimes might just be annoying, but...
Yeah, and I did say earlier too, like these streams are like everyone's learning together of what's happening. So don't take what happens throughout the stream as like full conclusion.
Right.
This is just initial testing, and it could change, but so far it hasn't really done too much to impress other than really bright scenes.
Yeah, don't go on the forums and say like Classy said the X95K is trash. Like, don't say stuff like that because he's probably never said that, first of all. And then second of all, like everything that we're talking about on the stream and pointing out, it's just like little observations. It's not factual evidence or anything like that, right? Like we still need to do more tests. At the end of the day, it's just for the one piece of content that we pointed out on.
Yeah, like... So we know the S95B on these scenes had more color detail with brightness mixture versus the G2.
Mm-hmm.
But the G2 is definitely leading the X95K here. Like there's barely any orange or red or anything to the color on the X95K, and this is in the accurate assuming that the X95K accurate Dolby Vision mode is Dolby Vision Dark. Yeah. It's in Dolby Vision Dark, and the LG is in Cinema.
Okay. What's going on with the sky?
So thank you for the super chat. Did you post it yet, or you?
Let's see.
It?
Bowlman. If you have a question, just type it. Bowlman.
Yeah. Maybe you're still typing. We'll just give you a minute.
It's possible, yeah.
So I am actually working on doing a gaming shootout at the shootout before the shootout happens. Now the issue is trying to get the timing right. So it's possible that it may have to be done before the TVs are calibrated, because once they start that, it's basically the TVs get calibrated and then moved to location for the shootout.
Hmm.
So, but it's definitely, there's plans in place, and I'm working on getting basically going to just stick with the Xbox Series X because it supports like all the features,
Yeah.
and trying to get as many of them together as possible, because if you run it for splitter, then all your brightness settings per game or HGIG is the same, and I don't want that. So I'm trying to get a bunch of Xboxes together, and yeah, I'm planning on working out something for a gaming event at the shootout.
I mean, like, I think if you could find a game that's mostly capped at 1,000 nits, most of the TVs should be able to somewhat handle that, right?
Well, that's the problem. I don't want to cap it at anything. I want to
Yeah.
separate the TVs
But I'm
based on
saying,
what they
like,
can do.
if you could find one, a game that they could
Well, I
like
mean,
have
you
an
can set
equal shot
anything
at
to
it.
it, but
Yeah.
um,
I see, but you want the LCDs to be able to show their strength too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, talking about this?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like
Yeah.
they'll put words in your mouth and say that you said something is like bad. Just like
I mean, I don't expect an LCD to beat or come near an OLED in dark scenes, but when QN90B got closer, while also having a brightness difference in high APL scenes, maybe the X95K is brighter in some of those high APL scenes, but in the dark scenes, it's not nearly as good as the QN90B.
yeah. Hey,
And
can
then the color
you
again is just
yeah.
not there.
Can you explain the differences like with what's going on with the sky there? Like is it
Like I said, there's just a lack of color and contrast on the X95K. I mean, you can see it in his
yeah,
face. He's
right, I
very
see that.
pale.
It looks really bad. It looks like he's sick. Like he's he's about to go throw up or something.
Calibration will probably help.
Yeah.
The problem is right now we're in Dolby Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Sony doesn't handle Dolby Vision well. Sony doesn't let you upload a Dolby Vision config file, so you can't do too much to your Dolby Vision calibration.
Yeah.
Whereas the LG, I can do that. So, and that's not playing favorites or anything. That's just the tools they provide you.
Yeah. Look at the
But
detail though on the pillar. That's
right now, this is just out of the box Dolby Vision on both. The only thing that the LG had is I did a service menu white balance so that the white point is my white point. I have no idea yet what the Sony white point is until I measure it.
yeah. I don't know. The details on that pillar seems pretty detailed on the X95K.
I'll look at that in a second.
Okay.
Bowman, thank you for the super chat. How big of a loss is Dolby Vision on the S95B? None at all.
0.
It saves time of having to disable it. All right, so
Like the texture.
the texture looks sharper on the G2 in person.
Okay.
It's probably just the angle of the camera.
Yeah.
Let me see what reality creation is on Dolby Vision on here.
See, that's important that you pointed that out because otherwise everybody would probably think that's like
Oh, it's
way
off.
more.
So
Okay.
Dolby Dark, it has it off at default.
Interesting. Notice anything?
Not much. And that's the thing with an LCD is it doesn't have that per pixel control, so
Right.
there's just always a native sharpness advantage to OLED.
That makes sense.
Like his hair is a lot sharper on the G2.
Yeah.
See, and the other thing is there's in the background to the right of him, let me turn up the camera, there's some green foliage that's dark. So let me turn that up. You see that? You see how much brighter all that green is behind him? There's also a lot of noise in that area, and because it's lifting that area, you see a lot more noise back there. Green and stuff like that.
What if you toggle on like the auto noise? Does that fix it? Just curious. The digital noise and the random noise reduction.
No, not really.
Wow.
I mean, it might blur it a little bit, but it's still there.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that that area should be darker and it's over brightening it.
Yeah. I see the lack of color you're talking about too. It's like very clear.
Yeah. Trying to.
That doesn't look too bad.
So, pair bright and dark. See, that's the other thing. When you go to Dolby Bright, those black bars just really get lifted.
That sucks.
And then put that in the cinema home.
It's funny, like on the TCL, it was like the opposite. Like bright made the black bars just great, and then like dark lifted it. I was confused.
Yeah, so right here, the blue Fire Dragon looks more. It stands out a bit more on the X95K. It is brighter.
Yeah.
But the orange Fire below is better on the G2.
Mm-hmm.
But then down here, this spot is a lot brighter over there.
Yeah.
If I set local dimming to high, it really crushes out dark areas. But I can show you. Although there's nothing in this scene that it's really affecting. But in other scenes, it like really crushed stuff out. It's not helping the black bars though. And above that blue dragon, there's like no black bar there. It's really light gray. Like the X95J last year, I think had better black bars than this.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's disappointing. Why am I not getting the X95K? It's just about the fact that it's too much at the time. Like there's just too much TV stuff going on, right? Like I have to do the G2 and then I want to get ready for the A95K. I don't think I could realistically fit it in. And also it's a 65-inch, which is kind of troublesome for my setup. And it's also really heavy.
That's how the black bars look.
Yeah. I gotta bring it upstairs. That's
it's
sad, dude.
It's
what
very, very heavy.
I see this on camera. Is it really like that? Or is it lifting
it's
a
very,
little bit?
very close. I just had
Okay.
turned the ISO way up so you could see it. But yeah, it's pretty close to that.
So it's is it leaking? Is that what's happening?
It's whenever there's a bright area near the black bar, then the
Okay.
black bar gets lifted in that area.
Yeah, so the scene is pretty much like leaking its brightness onto the black bars, right?
Yeah, so it's like the zones in the black bars are definitely smaller, but I guess it's like lighting up zones that are 2 zones away from what needs to be lit up or whatever. And I don't know, they need to reprogram that because
Yeah,
it
I
looks
was about
like
to say-
they could turn off 2 zones in that bar to make the bar better.
I think they could fix this in firmware update. I'm not sure though. But it's got to be a algorithm that Samsung uses, because the way Samsung does it, like you kind of don't see it much at all. So I wonder if they got like an algorithm they can work on.
Yeah. So depending on how many Xboxes we get together, what we may do is like G2 and S95B compared to the reference monitor, and then replace one of them with A95K, and then replace that with QN90 or 95B, whatever. Go through them that way and rate them all. Because I got 2 Xboxes to bring. Brian's got an Xbox. I'm not sure who else has them, and I may or may not buy a third. It also depends on if we end up having to do it at Value Electronics, how much space there is, or if there's time to be able to fit it in at the location in the city. Then maybe, I don't know. There's stuff that we got to work out, but gonna definitely try to get something done for gaming this year.
Just make sure you do like a segment for SDR, just so you can.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be SDR, HDR, picture quality, features, responsiveness. Basically encompassing everything.
Yeah, because I don't think people realize how many games are actually in SDR still. So that's why I talk about it so much. And if we're always getting these games on Game Pass and PS Plus, you're going to run into a lot of SDR games. And Nintendo Switch, of course. That's all SDR.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the black bars right now, I would give the scene to the X95K.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's almost got like a real like sense of depth to it. I don't know if this is the camera, but it feels like there's more depth within that dragon. Like,
it's brighter and it's doing a good job in this particular scene with like the darkness of his shirt on the right.
Mm-hmm.
However, the darkness on the left side, so like over here, this area, is a little lifted.
Okay.
The orange is lacking in color, but it is brighter. And then the blue, at least, because a brighter blue still looks good, even though there's a slight bit less blue in it. So, but overall, like I would say, in general, the scene's better on the X95K. But the black bars are just kind of ruining it.
What if you turn off Dolby Vision? I wonder if it would.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that as well.
For this scene,
here's the thing: if the lights were on, in this room, then the black bars wouldn't really matter. The X95K wins.
Yeah.
For this scene. So let me turn off Dolby Vision.
Was it that easy? It's just a toggle?
No, I think I gotta go in the settings.
Dang. That'd be really
like right here, when you go into a menu, like it's so gray and just bad looking.
I saw when FOMO was playing with some of the settings, it looked really, really poor. Like I don't mind that. Like that never really bothers me when settings are blooming. Like I don't care.
Yeah, I don't either. It's just
but it is a little jarring to see still sometimes.
Yeah. When it's on a screen like this though, it just has that cheap LCD look to it.
Yeah, I know what you
where
mean.
it's splotchy and there's like different colors to the gray and stuff, and it just looks
right. Samsung's game mode. I'm gonna pull this camera up, or let me pull this question up. Samsung's game mode and LG's just have more picture options and more custom presets. All have VRR. Classy or KG, can you elaborate? Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. The Samsung and LG just has way more game mode picture options. Like you have preset options. You can save different presets per game that you're playing. And the VRR is really good. You have customization over that. And then for Samsung in particular, like for LCDs, it doesn't turn off the local dimming. It limits it a little bit, but it doesn't turn it off. So that's something to point out. And then, yeah, it's just more features, right? Like,
yeah, it's because Sony is using Google TV.
Yeah.
So they're for their operating system, so they have to be able to work around or work through that.
Yep. Exactly. It's kind of like a handcuff for them.
Yeah, and this is another one of those, like, it doesn't really matter because it's a menu, but there's a much more saturated blue right here. Like it's just a very light faded blue on the X95K.
I can see that. I can see that. That's weird. So is that a hue thing? Like, is it
No, it's
like
just
colors are fading?
when it comes to menus and stuff, I don't
Okay.
think the local dimming is activated or something, and
Okay,
it gives it that, like I said, that cheap LCD impression when it's not in
Gotcha.
content.
So it's just the zone's
And
not activating.
For me, I'm not gonna like have that affect how I feel about it because I don't care. But I know
yeah.
there are some people who see that, or they see crappy looking menus, and it does affect them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let me take this off actually.
All right, why is it looking so dark?
I was gonna say that looks like two different movies.
It doesn't look HDR.
It looks like
this is
two
the
different-
problem I've run into earlier too watching stuff. There's times where it's like it says HDR, it doesn't look HDR.
Is it the splitter?
No, it's
No.
the TV. Like
Okay.
there are just times where like everything is on. It's high, like that's not gonna change anything. It just doesn't look HDR.
Weird. Yeah, that's a significant difference on camera too. Trying to think what that would be. Like, what if you toggle just to see if you toggle the HDR mode on there just to see, make sure it is definitely showing. Brightness preferred actually lifted it up quite a bit.
Yeah, but it's still not as bright. And
Right.
this, I believe, this is in cinema. Nope, it's in cinema home. So let me move that. All right, there we go. Yeah, if I put that to gradation,
it's a little bit better.
Yeah, it's better, but there's no brightness advantage, and the camera is flickering again. Hang on. Why is this TV so sensitive to that?
I don't see flicker.
I see a little bit, but if I move it in either direction, it gets worse. So
yeah.
Yeah. Then let me.
It'll do.
All right, let's just leave it like this.
Looks like two different movies still.
Yeah, and the rock wall has tons of detail that you just don't see over there.
I mean,
it's so flat. It's so flat. This area specifically, all these lines and stuff, that very three-dimensional. Over there, it's completely flat.
It's washed out.
And washed out.
I can kind of see a little bit of detail on camera, but
yeah, I mean, there's some detail there, but in comparison, it's very notable.
I put StreamYard in full screen. It looks really good. I can't see chat now, though. That's the only thing that sucks. I can look on my phone. I can pull up chat on my phone.
Matt. Yeah, LG fanboy have OLED bias. Okay. No, don't think it's a bad panel.
You get that a lot, Matt? You get people saying that a lot?
Huh?
Welcome to the world of being called a fanboy. I mean, I'm sure you've already been a part of it for a while, but I get called a LG fanboy, a Samsung fanboy, a Sony fanboy. I even been called a TCL fanboy because I didn't like the Hisense.
The water just looks awful on the X95K. And I don't mean to say like bad words. I don't mean to say that the TV's awful. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying right now, this scene, that water it looks like an LCD from 2016.
I'll freaking say it. It's like watching my KS8000. It's not good.
Tell her you got to be careful with your words, else you got the AVS reporters here that are gonna they're gonna do breaking news.
Scenes like this are just looking like the KS8000, which I'm sure if I pull up the KS8000 in here, it would beat it. It'll be better, but some scenes are closer to that than I think they should be.
Yeah, you got the AVS paparazzi here, so you got to choose your words carefully.
And it's not every scene. It's just it's not a consistent experience where like I said, that dragon scene a minute ago was looking really good. this scene does not look very good.
It's too heavy for all this. It's doing too much.
All right, so we were on Dolby Vision earlier when we were here. Now this is HDR. And so if I change that to brightness preferred, it gets brighter, but it doesn't help the contrast, and that's the problem. It's just lacking contrast.
Yeah.
This keeps the contrast, gets brighter, and actually, like, the G2 is significantly brighter right now if you were to put it into dynamic tone mappings in my home and had the X95K and brightness preferred, like if it was, you know, really bright room or something.
Mm-hmm.
Even like the sun coming through, it's brighter.
Hey, man. Not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But
And this is like a high graded disc too. So
yeah. Max, I am sorry. That's all I gotta say, man. I know.
yeah. Max, if you want to review the TV and whatnot, keep your order. But if
Yeah.
you're trying to find something better than the Samsung, I think you should cancel your order and keep the Samsung.
He doesn't have the Samsung no more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he liked the QN800B. He thought it was really good.
Yeah. You know, maybe I'll look at the 800B at some point, but I'm telling you right now, if the 90B was here, the 90B would be much closer to the G2 than this is.
Yeah. Yeah, the 90B and the C2 were so close. And that's not to say like it was better or than the C2 in the scenes where, you know, obviously a OLED will win. It was just like it was kind of surprising at how close it was for an LCD. For like challenging scenes. There's still some blooming from time to time. There's always going to be blooming on an LCD TV. That's what people really need to understand. You're not going to get a blooming free LCD TV.
Yeah, and I don't care. Like, I get that there's going to be blooming, and the blooming like isn't even the problem here. It's not blooming. That's not the problem. It's the contrast. It's the real scene contrast is just not good.
Yeah,
not compared to anything else in this price point.
I think the black bars thing is kind of unforgivable too. A little bit.
Let me turn the ISO up. You can see the bottom right. Like, this is not a bright scene, but that bottom right bar is very blue glowing right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I bashed why I didn't bash. Okay. Don't put words on my I'll put words on my own mouth. Yeah. That's why I didn't like the U8G is because of that same kind of look right there.
I had to turn the ISO up really high. That's why it's like noisy looking. But do you see that blue glow under the water?
Yep.
And it's not a bright scene.
I see that, yeah. It's very clear. Ah, man. FOMO was pointing that out.
High Def News, thank you for Super Chat. Yeah, so, all right, I guess, what time is it? 10:20? All right, I can do one more bit of content. So let me try something, see if I can get Spider-Man in. Is that still on streaming, or did they take it off of streaming? Because did I buy it? I don't think I bought it. The new Spider-Man. And I'll find something Marvel, colorful, whatever. And
then Bravia Core.
Did I sign into Bravia Core yet? All right,
I'll figure it out. That's the only thing.
Oh yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll find something similar to that, and then could try to do some quick brightness measurements. But I did promise my kids I would watch Shrek with them today, so can't go as long as I was saying earlier. But
yeah,
I'll fit some stuff in.
Yeah, you got to get Shrek'd. Man, it's such a good movie. Who doesn't like Shrek, honestly?
Did I go too far?
Yeah, anything Marvel would probably work, dude.
Come on. Okay, so I can say the color is better now, so that could just be Sony and Dolby Vision.
Yeah.
Let's see. You see that? So the color is definitely better here. This is, again, if you have a Sony, absolutely disable Dolby Vision. Like, this is very blatantly obvious. You know, I'll measure Dolby Vision and see what's going on, but yeah, the Dolby Vision was not playing well on it. This is much better.
Yep.
Yeah, there's still more saturation in his face on the LG, but it's much better than it was.
Yeah, it does appear that they have a little bit more saturation in the face.
Yeah, so again, that's why I said earlier, like with the stream, we're all going through it together. It's a learning process. Don't go to conclusions too early.
Yeah.
That said, the contrast issue still an issue, but the color difference in HDR10 at least is much better than it was on Dolby Vision.
Yep.
And that's where it's like, I don't really like Dolby Vision so much for any of them, but LG does Dolby Vision better. Sony just really has issues with Dolby Vision for whatever reason.
Yeah. I like Samsung's Dolby Vision the best. Because they don't have it.
But that said, it's not as bright now.
Oh, man. So there you go. There's your Dolby Vision advantage.
So I think now it's actually just pushing it brighter, so maybe there's more color loss or something to that effect is going on, or the tone mapping differences.
Yeah, it could be tone mapping.
Yeah. We are in gradation preferred. If I make it brighter with brightness preferred, I definitely notice some lost detail now.
It didn't seem like it got brighter though.
It did. Like if I go back,
okay.
it gradually adjusts.
Yeah. Right.
So actually, it kind of goes too bright and then backs down a little bit, so you get some of the detail back. So you just gotta give it a few seconds. All right, so yeah, it's a little better right there, but if I put this, see, and this is one of those scenes where if you go to dynamic tone mapping, it does compress it more, so you lose brightness, but you gain more color and detail.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like opposites.
Right.
But yeah, if you're trying to get all the detail out of the Sony, you do that. Dolby Vision was brighter here, but the color was just not there in the Dolby Vision.
Yeah.
All right, so on the Sonys, you can use HDMI port 3 or 4 and just set it to enhanced, and then that'll disable Dolby Vision for anything on those inputs.
Can you disable it in app? I can't remember.
In the apps of the TV, no.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let me switch to Shield. Let me cover the camera for a minute while I get something playing.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I don't see any. Nothing popping out here.
Yeah, and if you're just joining, apologies for how I sound. I know I sound like crap. Another sinus infection.
That's rough, man. I used to deal with those all the time. If you guys got questions, leave them in the chat. It's a good time to answer your questions is like right now. It's funny because like after I stream, I get like a bunch of comments with questions, and I'm like, man, where were you guys at during the stream? Could have answered it live. It's much easier to talk than type all these answers out. So if I never respond to comments, which that never happens, I always respond to comments, but I try to respond to comments more than I used to, but it's still really hard sometimes. So I'm sure Classy feels the same way. It's best to just come to these streams and ask your questions.
Dang it, did I bump the focus? So sensitive. Right there.
Yeah, hey, do you know if there's any lenses that like hold focus longer?
Oh, yeah,
like, have, like,
you can
a
lock it or have it switched off, but I just didn't.
Well, yeah, no, that's not what I mean. Like, I mean, so if it's sharp, even if you turn it a little bit, like, there's sharper lenses, right, that stay.
Oh, yeah, there's different sharpness for the different lenses, but it also has to do with what f-stop it's at.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to get rid of the moire and stuff.
Yeah. The Disney app doesn't let you take away the menu, does it?
I think it does. You just like press back.
Yeah, if I hit back, it just like leaves the show.
Oh. Okay. Can you press up? Double tap up, maybe? No? Nope. You sure just back once? Okay.
Yep.
That sucks.
I thought after a few seconds it would just go away, but...
I thought it did, but... guess not. Better pause it.
Yeah, I gotta...
Better hurry up and pause it.
Waiting for the whole menu, like what it says at the top of the screen to go away. It takes forever on the Disney app for the stuff to fade away.
Ivan, I would say that the QN900A is fine for a dark room. Like, that's the thing. LCDs are fine for a dark room most of the time, as long as you don't have like black bar issues. Then it shouldn't be a problem. S95B versus QN95B for gaming, 65-inch. I haven't seen the QN95B, but I'm gonna go with the S95B. It's just, so far, it's the best gaming TV that I've had.
Yes, I will risk this whole stream, and I will play about 10 seconds and then pause. So pay attention to the color. It's just like a severe lack of color on the X95K. And even the skies, everything.
It's like a different color entirely for that wall. Now, is this a lack of color, or is this just like a color science thing?
It's lack of color saturation, at least. And then I'll know more when I measure it, but just visually, it looks like a lack of saturation and contrast.
Okay.
Because the brightness levels between the two are basically the same.
Yeah. I see the lack of contrast on that. What is that, a wagon? Like, if you look at the top of the wagon there, like,
Yeah.
that's pretty noticeable. In the wheel, too. Like, if you look deep into the wheel.
Yep. I know there's a way to get the Disney app to lower that. I've done it before. I just swear. I thought it was just pause and let it sit and it goes away. Maybe if you don't hit the pause button but hit the select button. Don't tag me, Disney. Just give me a second. Bad pause. Stop. There. Let's try right there. Is it gonna go away?
I mean, look at the ground. I can see the difference there, too.
Yeah, it's so flat. It's
Yeah.
like it's just very flat looking.
But that's mostly like an LCD versus OLED thing, I think. That contrast difference.
Yeah. And I like if the QN90B was here, I swear it would split the difference, but be closer to the G2.
Yeah. For sure.
And then if you want to make them brighter, what did I just press on there?
What did you just do? I've never seen that menu in my life.
Because there's no numbers on the remote, so that's how you
okay.
get to the numbers.
Gotcha. Oh, they removed the numbers. That's right. Okay. People aren't gonna like that.
Like, you see that laser?
Yeah.
It's orange and brighter for sure on the G2.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. QN90B or QN95B? I haven't seen the QN95B. I think it's basically just going to be a slight difference, if anything, in terms of picture quality. It's mostly just about the features and the design of the TV. Like if you want a one connect box, if you want that sound improvement, things like that. The bezel. $144 I guess, too.
Yeah, so hopefully after calibration it'll change a little bit, but like the sky is just an unnaturally like cyan color, and it's just lacking like any saturation. Like it looks milky, like milk was mixed with the sky.
Yeah. It's weird.
All right, thank you for the super chat, Heart 8. KG, I rebought the S95B, and after having the 77C2, 77A80, you really exaggerate the S95B for gaming. W OLED are still amazing for gaming.
Oh, I don't know that I exaggerate it. You're just looking at a 77A80J, which is like really good for gaming. And the fact that when you look at a 77 next to a 65 or after seeing that, you still have to adjust your eyes at the end of the day. Depends on the game you play too. You can't tell me you didn't like the S95B for gaming though. Like, don't front. You know that TV was really good for gaming. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you took back the C2, right?
I do like the size and the feel of the new remote. I wish the backlit one had these buttons but with the like it has the Bravia core. This one has YouTube. So like
Mm,
I want both remotes to have both, and then like get rid of the Prime Video one or something.
yeah, they're both backlit now.
No. The black
Oh, they're
one
not back. Okay.
is not the brushed aluminum is backlit, but that's only on the
Gotcha.
A90K and the X. What is it? X.
Z9,
No, the Z9K.
Z9K.
Yep, and that's it.
Yeah,
I guess
that's
those
it.
are the only two.
That's it. They redesigned a remote and they could have put a backlight in it. Come on.
All right. Let me hook up stuff to do some quick measurements, and I will be right back. I'm also gonna try and clear my nose so I don't sound as bad.
All right.
Let me switch to a YouTube demo though to see how that looks.
Yeah, have something going for chat. I'll entertain chat. I'll answer questions.
All right. What am I going to use for the YouTube? I guess I'm just going to have to use built-in apps.
Yeah. All right. If you guys got any specific questions for me while class is away, now's the time to just fire them away. Let's see.
I'm still here for a minute, but
yeah, the X95K is at full brightness for like all of these demos.
yeah, nothing is restricted. It's just at the accurate settings, and the G2 is at the accurate settings. And then the only thing I've toggled back and forth is brightness preferred, gradation preferred, and then dynamic tone mapping on and off. And really, the only time that should even be done is if it's like a super bright room. But I'm just trying to show it for the people who want to see that.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Hey, what's up? Hey, Hard 8. I agree that the 77 is a better experience over the 65 S95B, but please don't argue and fight. Like, that doesn't get us anywhere. Like,
So
we
is it really that
definitely don't
bad?
want this back and forth. Yeah, I know. Like, he probably was egged on or something. I didn't read chat. Looks like him and Flyjock are arguing. If you guys would both stop, that'd be cool. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't need to fight. Can't we all just get along? Wait, what's that from? What is that from? Yeah, what's up, Max? Do you know what that's from? Like, can't we all just get along? What is that from? I don't know.
Oh man. I was like going back and forth with the stream, but I had to take care of the kids and stuff. So
I mean, yeah, you could argue, but you don't have to be toxic back and forth.
So the question is, how's the blooming?
No, like I said, the blooming is as expected. It's the lack of contrast that's not.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it seems like Samsung is taking the throne so far.
Nah, it was from a movie.
Yeah, just looking at this right now, probably gonna have to take a slide on this X95. Especially, I heard how much you said, how heavy it is. I'm just like, man, I'm gonna be going through some pain.
I mean,
trying to
right here, it's
that.
bright. The blooming, I mean, there's some there, but it's not the issue.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. Mars Attacks. I love that movie, by the way.
See, this, though, this is where you see that complete, just, there's no contrast. And I'm also seeing a lot of posterization and banding and gradient, like right there in the middle. And let me see if I can fix this freaking strobing. Every time I change content, it changes it.
I get my 65 tomorrow. Mine wasn't from the price mistake though. I didn't get that super crazy deal you got. I just got a what was it, 15% off from the bundle, from like the official bundle, not the bundle you got, but the official bundle. It's coming tomorrow. Unless, yeah. Is it flickering?
Strobing. Yeah.
Yeah, a little. It's not too noticeable on camera.
You know, I can't see anything because it's so dark. There we go. Did I get it?
Yeah, it's strobing.
What are you talking about? The G2, or are you talking about
the X95K? Is very difficult to shoot without getting the strobing or
got a different flicker frequency.
Yeah. Right now I put it to 59.5. I think it's okay. All right, so both TVs are in their accurate setting. Looks like the LG is a split second ahead. That should fix it right there.
It is still a deal. 15% off is really good.
All right, so I will be back in a few minutes.
This is the best deal that you can get in TVs right now. Like, hands down. The Sony A80J 77, $25.99. It's like unheard of for a 77-inch OLED.
Yeah, especially the A80K. Was this? Was it 3800?
Yeah, and I don't know if this is true, but like somebody said the 77-inch A80K was matte.
I don't think it is, because I looked at Whisper Status earlier, and it looked like it's the same screen. I mean, not the same screen as from last year, but it's shiny. It doesn't look matte to me.
I didn't watch that video yet. What did Brian say on it?
You know, I was off and on. I didn't hear the whole thing, but when it was doing the unboxing, it looked completely shiny to me. It's like you could see the background of the store. It wasn't like matte.
Okay, well,
like you saw the 55 and 65 inch when you was at with the A80J.
Yeah. Well, see, like that's the thing. I still thought it was pretty reflective, the matte finish. So, because it was like a semi-matte. So I don't know. Does anybody know in chat? Like, is any information?
Yeah, I really can't speak to it. It looks just like how my 890J screen, but like I said, I could be completely wrong, and like I said, I didn't hear everything that he said. But when I was looking at it, when I was going back and forth, it looked shiny to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like so far that QN90B is the choice for LCDs.
Yeah, it might. Who knows?
I mean, I want to know what the QN800B looks like, because you said it was really impressive. I believe you too, and I know they're very similar.
Yeah, I'm about to. Yeah, it was. I will say this. The blacks I thought was good. It's still blooming. I mean, of course, it's going to be blooming here and there and stuff, but I was shocked at how good it was, as in like with the blacks. The only thing I had an issue with it was the eARC, which I told you about, and I felt that the detail was. I think the Sony A90J, hands down, had way better detail when it comes to the picture quality. And when I'm talking about detail, as in like the dimensions and the depth and the detail of the characters, I noticed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, it's a good TV. It's just the only thing I just had. It's just the price of it. That's the only thing I had a hard thing swallowing, even though it's an 8K TV.
Yeah, I wish I could skip Classy's ads right. Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. like for me, I'm still hunting for the TV. And after I saw what Classy saw, I think it was like one. I don't know what scene he was looking at. It looked like Fantastic Beasts. I saw that blooming. I was like, yeah, let me go
Oh
ahead and
man, the
cancel this.
black bars. Oh, the black bars
I
kills me.
I had to cancel that order right there, right then and there. I was just like, nah,
I
I'm
don't
not even
blame you,
going through the
man.
struggle of toting that TV in the basement
Bro, it's
and put that together.
142 pounds. The
I
box
was
is
like,
142 pounds. Like
yeah.
what?
Just imagine me trying to take that TV back. No, I'm
You
not
saw
doing.
those
I'm not even.
pictures Classy had of the packaging and stuff?
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh my
I was like,
gosh.
nah, I'm not even going through that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed in Sony right now and stuff.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. Maybe it could be something that they could fix with a firmware update, but it just for me to take that bullet, just to
Yeah.
take. I can't do it.
I don't blame you. I
I
don't
can't
blame
do
you at
it.
all, man.
Yeah. If
I,
Classy's saying it too, I mean, look at this video and FOMO's gonna have something tomorrow, so who knows and stuff. So
I kind of like made a prediction, like a lot of that feedback was gonna happen. I just
well, you kept saying it to me too.
yeah,
I kept on saying like, no, no, Sony gonna do something about it, but nope.
yeah, man. It's just one of those things. Like,
It's a hard
is
pill to swallow.
I hate to go by like like stereotypes with TVs and stuff, like LG and Sony LCDs. Just but it's kind of proven to be true. And just like I had to think about that, and then I remembered what they did last year. It was okay, but it, like still wasn't to the same degree with like the black levels as the QN90A. It was better in the sense of like highlights and stuff, but now the QN90B fixed all that, so it's one of those things where you kind of have that winner,
Yeah,
and you'll really have to see an LCD push it beyond there to beat the QN90B and the QN900B, and it sounds like the QN800B as well, which that's one of those things. You never know, but I just made a bet like I couldn't do it.
yeah. I mean, you're right. You're right. You kept on saying it too. You said just. You said don't do it. I was just like, no. I had so much faith in Sony, but hey, it is what it is. It's
The reason why I did it
yeah,
mainly is because there was, some pre-production reviews of it, some people that saw it at CES, and the sense that I got from the people that saw it from the X95J, like last year to this year, there wasn't a huge improvement. And the same thing with like the X90J to the X90K. I heard there wasn't that big of an improvement. There's an improvement, yes, but that rumor that it was going to look like the X95J, I don't think that's going to hold true. But I haven't seen the X90K, and I don't know too many people that I've spoken with. I need to talk to Brian a little bit. I know he's seen it. But for the most part, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, look at
That's
the
something.
blooming on the sparks. Do you see that? Or is that the camera, you think? I don't know.
It looked like that on the from my side.
I have to ask Classy
Oh
when he
my
gets back.
gosh,
I have to
yeah.
ask Classy. That's you might be seeing the reflection on the left. That's not really blooming.
Oh no, that's a reflection. I
Yeah.
was looking at some other parts.
Oh, okay.
No, I noticed that was a reflection from.
Okay.
I think that's a light or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, like Heart 8 was saying here, like I told him, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, he messaged me and he said, is the A80J gonna bother me with the dimming? And I was like, probably not. And it sounds like he says it's a non-factor. So that's good. I'm glad it doesn't bother you.
And that's the thing is with the dimming, it does you don't notice it unless you like. It depends on the content you're watching. It's like
Yeah.
if you're watching like animation or something like that where you have I don't know. I
Oh
can't
my
even think
gosh,
of
what's going on right now?
I can't even think of like movies or anything or even if you play games,
Yeah.
then you may notice it and stuff. But I don't know. On my Sony A9F, man, yeah, I noticed it like I got so used to it. It's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Does it seem like
it comes with the territory. I hate to say.
yeah, I'm watching the stream right now. It seems like the X95K like blooms a little bit at first, and then it just takes a little bit of time to like kick in the local dimming, and then it gets way better. Like just a second ago, I saw a lot of blooming, and then as the scene went on, like that got condensed, and
I think it's
the
a
blooming went
software.
away. Yeah, it's got to be the dimming algorithm and how aggressive
It has
it
to be
is.
a software. It got to be a software.
Yeah.
But I mean, but at the same time too, we got to be honest, and we can't just throw out stuff saying like, "Oh, this is the greatest TV." It's just like if we're seeing something, man, it just like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like the Samsung, just like the Samsung. I had a QN 800B. I thought it was a great TV and stuff. I just didn't think it was worth the price, but
Yeah,
that's a blooming.
those 8Ks are tough for price. Like I definitely
Yeah.
like feel like there's that 8K tax that doesn't feel worth paying. So I
Yeah.
get that.
I came back and there was like a huge difference in the time. Did somehow the demos like one start playing a commercial or something?
Yeah,
Like that?
so there was like a 50-second ad.
Okay. All right. So Joel, thank you for a super chat for a living room mostly streaming coming from an 850E. Go with a 77A80J or 85X95J or QN90A. I would say the A80J.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
All right. So yeah, I mean, some of these demos like show more blooming for sure, but then also these demos are showing that it's closer to the G2 in demos, but it's the real content where it's just not showing any real difference, and that's where like these demos and stuff like it just pushes certain things more.
Yeah.
But right, I'm gonna switch over to start doing measurements.
Seems like it takes a little bit for the local dimming to like adjust. Like I've noticed where I saw
it's not very
blooming
fast.
and then it just like condenses it down sort of after a little bit.
Yeah. And that's why I've been trying to explain, like with the QN90B versus the A. The A was not that fast,
Right.
and that's why everything was just crushed all the time.
Yeah.
The B, the zones transition faster, and you get that near black detail.
Yeah.
So. I'm starting to get all tangled up in wires now.
Really different. That looked really different, that galaxy right there.
Yeah, that's the thing is about it, and that's the hardest part. It's like I'm looking through a YouTube video, so it's kind of hard for me to really. Well, I saw some blooming right there, but
yeah, and when it does, it's like that blue glow.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. I guess Sony either have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, so like I said, the blooming isn't terrible, and that's not the problem. It's the contrast and real content is the problem.
But this is going to be the debate. Well, I don't even think it's a debate. It's just like Samsung knew what they needed to work on, and it looked like they fixed what they needed to do from last year with this year's TVs. And it's like Sony just don't care for anybody's input. They're going to do what they want to do.
Yeah, they didn't address the problems from last year. They just did what they already did well, a little bit better.
That's not good. That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And then plus the fact too is like they don't have really any type of gaming features too, and that's kind of like the other thing that's kind of like throwing me off with this too, especially with they charging such a premium with this TV compared to the other TVs. That's where I'm like kind of like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
It seemed like it's just more with the name. He's like, oh, I got a Sony TV that people think like, oh, that holds a lot of weight, but it's Doesn't look like it so far.
What are you talking about, CJ? Is what $1,000 improvement from the A80J? And what size are we talking about? I can't, and like when people say is it $1,000 difference, I can't justify that unless I know your situation. Like
Yeah, are you talking about
you
the
have to decide that for
880K or?
yourself at the end of the day. Like I can't say if it's worth $1,000 more. Maybe depends. Are you throwing around money? Like I don't know. Like a lot of things go into that. Not many TVs are $1,000 better at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this comment right now. Robert has lots of high hopes for the X95K. This seems like it's a much better than non-mini LED backlight master drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. It just
No,
that's why you have us and stuff to
no.
yeah, try to be honest.
I'm saying the same thing here. Like I said with the C2, it's not worth it. Like get the C1, get the A80J, it's not gonna be worth it. You're seeing incremental upgrades on these things. Especially if we're talking about 77-inch for the A80J versus the A80K, just the A80J is going to end up being a very similar TV. If you're talking about 55, 65, I mean, you can make an argument there. But at the end of the day, I still think the price difference is way too much.
And that's the thing is what Sony does. It's like Sony would do their best bang, like last year where they came out with the new processor and all the bells and whistles. Right. And then they wait another year and just do minor improvements.
Yeah.
And then that following year, that's where they come at you and hit like super hard. Like, oh yeah, this is our new processor. This is what we're doing now. And so I bet you in 2023, they're gonna come out with a new processor.
Unless they do like the XR Ultimate or something, maybe. Like they usually kind of stick with a lot of their processing if it's good for a while, you know. Maybe they'll add the Ultimate onto the end of it and call it, you know, a couple of new features. We'll see. But
yeah,
the new XR processor was groundbreaking for them, and it kind of set the bar for processors. So, and people need to realize that when we're talking about processing, it's the image processor, not the SoC, not the thing that the computer that makes the TV like run the OS and stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's still like Sony's still using the same media tech.
Yeah, that's another issue on its own, but I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like every 2 years they always come out with something new, but I could be wrong. Could be maybe 3 years.
Right.
But yeah, I just think the A80J is more bang for your buck, and same thing for LG C1 is more bang for the buck. Unless they sold out of the C1s and the A80J.
Yeah, there's no way of guaranteeing that the A80J 77 will have the EX, but it has last year's WEE panel. It has a chance to have the EX, certainly, sure, but we don't know.
It's the same processor too. That's kind of like the other thing.
It's pretty much the same process. It's just the second gen version of it.
And they didn't even talk about what they did with the second gen version. They keep on saying they're retooling it. Like, what does that really even mean?
I'll try to get the A80K. I will. I just don't know if I'll get it right away.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see though. You never know. Depending on when I get the A95K, maybe there's a big gap in between. Like if people say, hey, you're not gonna get the A95K till like June or something, like mid-June, which sounds like early June, but if they're saying like late June, I might be able to fit the A80K into that window.
All right, you see how reality creation affects that right there?
Yes.
On the OLEDs, it doesn't really do that. So
there's no ringing like when you do that, right?
It's extremely minor effect on this pattern when you like even put it on auto on the OLEDs, but this, it's not very good.
That's probably the pixel per pixel thing difference.
But yeah, I missed everything that you've been saying the last couple minutes. What was that? Not?
I've just been talking about well, they were debating in chat if the A80K is worth the A80J's like price difference, and I was saying no, absolutely not. So
Yeah, it's very very unlikely. At least for 77 inches, it's unlikely. And especially if SD said he saw it at Value Electronics, and that it had a different coat, like that coating, kind of like the A80J last year on the smaller sizes. Maybe it's a different coating that's somewhere between. I don't know.
gotcha.
I'll try to see one as soon as they pop up in stores around here.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Brian. He's seen one, so.
Yeah, we'll see.
But if SD said that, I know he knows what the semi-matte looks like, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I said look at Brian's video. I'm like I said, I was just looking. I was just looking
The
from his
reflections looked slightly diffused in that video, so.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it looked shiny in my opinion, but like I said, I could
Well,
be
it's still
completely
shiny.
wrong.
Yeah,
it's definitely glossy. It's not matte. It's not.
Right. It's like
it's just
very what they call it, the
difference.
semi-matte. It's like that's what people know it as. That's why I bring that up. I don't believe it's matte either. But
yeah, that's why I say I could be wrong and stuff. So, because I know
guess semi-gloss is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I am about to drop off and stuff. So,
all right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be ending shortly.
Well, I'm glad, Classy, you got the TV.
Yeah. Thanks for giving him that warning sign, the warning signals.
Yeah.
Saved him a backache, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. He sent me. Yeah. Once I saw the pictures, I was like, God, let me go ahead and cancel this right now.
The pictures, the box packaging. That's what did it.
The pictures is what did it for me. I was just like, I don't know why Sony did that. I was like, and then once he said it was 140 something pounds for the box, I was just like, no, I'm not. There's no way I'm doing it. I'll be so angry and stuff, and I won't even give it a fair value if I had to tote that thing back up and down. Oh no, I'm not.
Yeah, it's not fun, and I don't even know how I'm gonna box it back up. There's so many pieces of cardboard.
That's what I was looking at. I was just thinking about that. I said, unless I take pictures of how I took it out, it's going to be impossible.
You need to document it on video.
Yeah. Yeah, but all right. Well, I hope everyone have a good night and stuff. So,
all right, Max.
Have a good one. All right, take it easy.
Have a good one.
Later.
Matt, I don't know if you're still here, Matt, but the out of the box white point is 308,328. So kind of not. It's I don't know. The Y is more green than the OLEDs, but yeah.
What's that mean?
It's not D65, and it's not really the Sony OLED white point either.
So it's not the Judd. It's not D6. So it's like in between.
It's just a weird point to see a Sony at.
Okay. Can you measure black level on an NC checkerboard?
Well, the problem is there's so many ways to do that, because with local dimming, without local dimming, as soon as you turn local dimming, your contrast ratio is something incredibly high anyway, that the measurement, like it's kind of a pointless thing to do when it comes to local dimming or mini LED TVs.
Yeah. Is that like the contrast ratio thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's worth doing. X95K is a great value if you're judging it price per pound. You definitely get your money's worth with the size. I don't know what it is about Sony and their build quality. Like, it's cool they have good build quality, but dang, their TVs are super heavy. Like, what is it, the X930E? That TV was freaking heavy, man. I don't know if anybody ever lifted one of those, but wow. I will say they do stands very well. Like, I love the way you just pop in their stands and it just goes right into place. Yeah, G2 is super light.
Well, the C2 is super light. The G2 is pretty average. I mean, it's kind of light, but like the 83 G2.
You got the 83 though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, they're still heavier than the C2s and more average.
Yeah. The C2 is probably lighter. You're right. It's hard to know. I got a box within a box. I don't know why they shipped it like that, but that's what they did. Any last second questions? Because class is gonna wrap it soon. Just doing some quick measurements, and if you guys have any questions for him, the best way to do it is super chats. It helps him out. It's greatly appreciated, I'm sure. And yeah, hook up the mans. Show your appreciation if you can. If not, just leave a regular question. We'll answer it. The wide stance feet is a deal breaker for me. It has two feet positions, so you can go wide or you can go in the middle.
The feet are in the middle right now.
Yeah. You have a choice though, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
There's 3 different positions.
I really like that Sony does that, and they just pop in place. It's nice.
What's going on over here?
Phil, what TV are you talking about? I didn't catch but I'd love to know what TV you're talking about. You got a super chat?
Here, 1 second.
Oh, you have banding on your A80J? I have a banding on my I have banding on my A80J too, but I actually haven't ran the screen refresher on it yet. So that's just like my bad, but it doesn't bother me that much, obviously. But I can see it sometimes on dark scenes, some weird vertical streaks. Yeah, same here. It's never too bad. Like, I never get too upset about that, even though I see it sometimes. It's like, I only see it sometimes. It's not like it's DSE where I see it all the time. But it does look very similar to DSE when you see it. It's just a larger form of it, really. I hope y'all steered me in the right direction. Going S95B over C2. Need that superior HDR. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not expecting it to be this, reference accurate thing, you're good. You're gonna love it.
There's 1,500 nits.
Yeah,
so
you're gonna
10% window, 1,500.
Yeah. I'd be surprised to see somebody who likes to game and not like that TV, unless their second priority is something else. I mean, gamers, they're just gonna love it. Software update can fix some of this stuff, sure. I've seen local dimming improve with the software update.
Yeah, it can. Hi Def News, thank you for super chat. Thank you for saving me $2,800.
And a backache. I know High Def was excited for this TV too. I'm sorry.
I'm just doing some pretty like quick run through measurements at like the default custom settings. So nothing final. Just I'm running low on time, but we'll at least get some idea. So it looked like the EOTF was tracking okay until like the middle, and then it fell off. And now brightness was under 1,001% window, which is lower than the QN90. Yeah, pretty much this entire suite was lower than the QN90B. And right now it has way too much blue and not enough red. So after calibration, this is going to drop.
That's disappointing. It is, what is it, like $300 more than the QN90B?
It depends on the size.
Yeah, I guess it does depend on the size. Let me look. What do you call it? QN90B was like 2,000 nits, right?
No, after calibration, it was like 1,600.
1,600. Okay.
Or 1,700.
I thought it was 18.
No, after calibration, it was about 17 something.
Okay, but out of the box, it was like 18, 19 something.
Yeah, and then I can give you your vivid measurement as well.
Ah, yes. Might as well.
Wait, why is this on a full screen? What? Hang on, it's already. That's because it's on a full screen. Out of the box, vivid.
So it's $200 more expensive. $27.99 for the 65. $300 for the 75.
Yeah, so not much. It didn't do the crazy push and vivid like the Samsung does.
The 3,000 nits of craziness for a second. Which sometimes that's all you need is just that 1 second of 3,000 nits. You'd be happy. Like, ooh. Blind.
I mean, it pushed full field, but yeah, it's so much bluer.
Yeah. All right, so that's about what I expected, to be honest with you. I didn't expect the X95K to push it.
So it's not as good near black as the QN90B, not as bright as the QN90B.
And it's more
black bars are not good, and the color has a lot of contrast and saturation issues, or lacking in it anyway. Yeah. So like I was saying before, like I'm pretty sure this TV is going to measure accurately and be fine, but the lack of contrast is the most important part of the picture quality.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That's his job.
Okay, that run was only 1,400 nits at 10%.
Right.
So, run a third time and see if it changes again.
I know you shared a similar prediction than I did with this TV, right?
Yeah. So this is looks like it's running low energy because each run is lower.
Huh. Why do you think that is?
We went from 1,500 to 1,400 to 13 something. Let me trigger something else real quick. right, so I triggered a video clip for a second. Oh, hang on. It took too long to click back, so I'll have to run it again. But the 10% is what I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is an example of a TV running out of energy. The S95B, you couldn't do back-to-back runs or it would protect itself. But if you did a video clip in between, it would always be showing the same.
Yeah.
This, put the video clip on, rerun the measurement, and it keeps dropping and keeps dropping and keeps dropping.
Wow. Did you see that with the QN90B here?
Not really. Like it would drop a little bit, but it reached a point where it would stop. Like, look at this right now.
Yeah. Got a super chat.
Oh, all right, David, thank you for super chat. Found a A90J 65-inch online for $25.35. Extremely tempted. Yeah, that is a pretty good deal for that.
It is, but you can get the 77 A80J for $25.99.
Yeah, I would go for the A80J 77.
And trust me, they're not that much different. Like it's maybe a 10% difference. Like, and you have to have the right content for it. Definitely go with size.
Yeah, now we're down in 1290. So, backlight master drive does what? Like all this size and weight and cost.
Yeah, how much? Like the TV itself feels pretty heavy, huh?
So yeah, we started out with bars that looked like that, and now we're down to that.
Wow.
And that might be why some scenes are looking a little, closer or better, and then other scenes are not looking so HDR-y. I mean, obviously it's still capable of being bright and whatnot, but it's like it is struggling with keeping the energy up.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
All right, so it seems like it's sticking more around 1300-ish. Yeah. And then, like I said, once I calibrate it, I think that's going to drop down. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it only around 1200 average. But let me do another video clip for a few seconds and see if it recovers.
What claymation? What claymation thing is you talking about? This just curious. Does setting up the S95B with your settings get rid of that claymation look it can have? Do you know what he's talking about? Claymation look.
Like you're talking about like in the movie mode, what Matt was talking about, where everything looked like wax. Yeah, going to filmmaker mode and changing the settings and stuff makes it look a lot better.
Yeah, I think it looks like that because it clips like pretty much everything in movie mode. The tone map's different.
Okay. All right. So I let video play for a little bit. And nope, not even going over 1300.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't get that in filmmaker mode. The chances of your filmmaker mode being over brightened though, that's pretty likely. Mine doesn't seem too bad, honestly. But that doesn't mean my 65-inch won't be super over brightened and out of the box bad. We'll see. That's why I want to do that comparison. Like I want to do the S95B versus the S95B out of the box. Why not? Let's see it. That way you can sort of see some of the panel variants on display. What are you doing now, tracking?
Yeah, now that the it seems to be like not being able to push what it was on the first run, I'm doing another run just to see if it changes. So I can't sit here and do a bunch of stuff, but I'll check other things, other window sizes, other APLs and stuff later when I have more time. This is just trying to get an initial check, and you can see how much more blue it has, not enough red.
Mm-hmm. So it kind of under tracks at the end. Is that what that is?
Yeah, so you can see it just drops off. It's too dark.
Yeah.
And then it seems to average more measurements around this range here. That was after doing a video clip and right before the run.
Yeah. So a question for you is, would you rather have a TV slightly over track or slightly under track?
Well, when in doubt, make it brighter, not darker.
Okay.
But you want it to track.
Yeah. Am I going to do that comparison tomorrow night? Well, I think FOMO's doing a stream tomorrow night. I'll do my stream on Friday. I don't know what it will be yet. It's probably going to end up being a G2 versus S95B, or maybe just G2, or maybe we'll just talk and then I'll do a stream Saturday. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But I got a lot of people that want to see the G2, so. And I want to see the G2 after what, you discovered about it and what we've learned about it. I want to see how different it is from the C2. I did a dark room, recording, and I'm going to use the same settings, and I'll do a C2, G2 thing as well. I have a pretty good format. Seems to work.
Yeah, so BT 2020 coverage was only 72%.
Okay. How's that line up with last year?
I don't quite remember. I mean, it's not bad. It's like, but the WRGB OLEDs is in the low to mid 70s generally. So.
Yeah. You'd hope for more, I guess, from the LCD.
Yeah, I mean, like the QN90B was 80, I think.
Mm-hmm.
See, and it's oversaturating blue in HDR.
Maybe that's why the blue looked like that. I don't know. The blue looked undersaturated when you showed it.
Like they're just.
Yeah.
See, again, this is just a measurement for like a fixed value without. Yeah, once you add in luminance and its tone mapping and everything else that it's doing.
That's why measurements are tricky, right? Because
that's why you need both sides of the picture to try and figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I expected this TV to measure okay, which, I mean, it is, but just visually in the content, it's just something's going on. The contrast is low.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I think that's where I'm going to call it. So I'll put up the brightness measurement real quick one more time. So we're going to go with that one because it did drop off. So that's more of like an average run right there.
Yep.
And then zones, I say it was either 29 or 30 across and 20 down. So it's roughly 600 or just under 600 zones for the 75-inch. The blooming, it's there. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's they light up a couple more zones than they need to, which affects black bars.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest issue seems to just be overall contrast and scene contrast, which, like in a average scene, doesn't have so much to do with the zones. It's just the actual TV itself. So there's just lacking some color, lacking contrast, and then in other content, it can look good. It can look really bright too, depending on the scene. But in the real content that we looked at tonight, it seemed to struggle a lot with contrast.
Yeah, that's weird.
So, All right.
Well, let me know if that changes when you test it by itself and stuff, because I'm sure you're gonna look at it a bunch.
Yeah.
You don't think it has anything to do with splitter, maybe, or
No, it has nothing to do with the splitter.
okay,
So
just ruling that one out.
because I mean we did. I mean I can run stuff straight to it. I'm sure it's not the splitter. That does it's literally an in and out. There's no
Right.
processing. There's no anything being done to the image.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I think we covered pretty much everything so far. Cool.
Yep. I think you might be confusing Dwayne Phillips with D Nice, which is yeah. Dwayne Phillips is not D Nice. D Nice would name on here would be D Nice.
Yeah.
So.
He's not the first one to do it.
But again, when it comes to like mini LED local dimming TVs, the ANSI checkerboard measurements really don't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's very easy to make a pattern look dark and white and bright, and then in real content you don't see that. So, and again, what does it matter if it's a 30,000 versus 80,000 measurement? Like in content, you don't see that. Like it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
So that's why contrast ratio measurements are going away in most reviews, and soon should just be completely gone because they're a thing of the past.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Except for like projectors and stuff, but that's different.
Especially when they do native contrast on local dimming TVs. Like, why?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah. So, all right. Thanks everyone for coming by. FOMO's got stream tomorrow, and then I'm going to be working on videos for this. And again, apologies for how it sounds, but sick again. I can't help that. So, all right. Have a good night, everyone.
Later, guys. See you Friday.
See you, everybody.